Ladies and gentlemen, the Town of Wareham BoS Sewer Commission meeting, November 5th. We get started. I am requesting all cell phones, electronic devices be turned off, and any member of the public also has the right to make an audio or video recording of an open. A member of the public who wishes to record a meeting must first notify the chair and must video equipment established by the chair so as not to interfere with the meeting. Attendees of such recording at the beginning of the meeting. There is someone that's recording. Clerk, roll call, please.
Just before that, Mr. Cruz, all 5 selectmen are present, as is the town administrator, Mr. Andrews.
Announcements.
Okay, on the announcements. The first announcement is from Johann Wagner, and this is in regards to the beautiful tribute. I'll read briefly. First of all, I would like to commend the director of municipal maintenance and his foreman for a wonderful job they had done in the town hall. God bless you all for the tribute to our veterans. It is beautiful. I appreciate the TA and the Board of Selectmen's support for the whole event. You really made it possible. Please report this to the board at your 11:15 meeting. The folks loved the serving by the BOS folks and commented on it. The COA volunteers were terrific. WCTV did a great job at covering this event, and there are many more kudos down the line, from entertainment to flowers, and it was a beautiful event. I'm sure we'll hear more about that as the evening goes on. There is a public hearing on the expansion of Point Independence Yacht Club on Thursday, November 17th at 2 p.m. over at the Town Hall. On December the 2nd, the Saints and Singers are coming to the First Congressional Church. Again, that's December the 2nd from 7:30 to 9 p.m. The Saints and Singers will be offering a concert on December the 2nd. The public is encouraged to attend, and a free will offering will be accepted and light refreshments to follow. The American Red Cross is having a blood drive at the First Congressional Church on Gibbs Avenue in Wareham on November 23rd from 9 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. So it's 9 a.m. to 1:30, a Red Cross blood drive. The Wareham Historical Society will host a program on November 21st at 7 p.m. at the Methodist Meeting House on 495 Main Street, entitled Remember When? Hurricane Memories. We invite the public to share memories, stories, pictures, and any memorabilia that relates to their past experiences from hurricanes. The Historical Society will film the program as part of a Remember When series. It will be a night of testimony on how these storms have impacted your life and how you and your neighbors have witnessed loss and devastation in their wake. Admission is free for members. Non-members, it's $2. For more information, you can call 508-295-8578. And also, that's a good pitch for the Wareham Historical Society. Become a member. And then when you attend these programs, you won't have to pay the $2. Samuel Morrison continues to send me an email on the comfort kits. And I thought I asked, can you get me exact information? But anyway, if anyone is interested in being a personal shopper, she will send us a list of the kids. Look, folks, she's already got 60 as of yesterday, and this is from November the 9th. This is really going to be, I said it last week, and I'll say it again this week as part of the announcements. You know, for many in our community, this is going to be a very tough 7 or 8 weeks. So if you can participate in some of these events or donate some stuff, there are a lot of kids out there that we can really help if we pull together. From Mr. Gaines on the council, the Wareham Friends of the Elderly, November Fun Night is revised, so it will only be $7 a head, and there'll be no buffet. So we didn't promote enough to get 25 more last week, I guess, Larry. So the Friends of the Wareham Elderly at the Elks Lodge in Wareham on Saturday, November 19th. The doors will open at 7:30. There'll be 2 hours of dancing and snacks only, provided by the Friends. And then Victor Solo Show of Elvis will take place. Again, it's $7, and tickets are available at the door. On November the 19th, from 9 to 2, at the Roland Thatcher Fellowship Hall, the First Congressional Church is having their Harvest and Holly Fair. On November 26th, from 9 to 2 at St. Patrick's Parish Hall, we will have the annual Holiday Fair. And again, that's on High Street in Wareham. There'll be baked goods, meat pie, Boucher's French meat pie, which is one of the best. To reserve a table, you can call the Parish Hall at 508-295-2411, and the cost of a table to sell your wares is $20. We're getting close to the end. Oh, no. The Narrows is teaming up against the Taradine Studio to fight hunger, and this will run through November the 20th. Again, the statistics are chilling. People don't have food, money for electric, gas, heat, and any non-perishable food item will be donated to the Damien's Food Pantry here in Wareham. And again, that's a little competition there between the Narrows Crossing Restaurant and the Taradine Studio on Union Avenue, and they're teaming up to fight hunger. More news from our council on the Friends of the Wareham Elderly. On December the 7th, great meal, great deal. Here we go, at the Club 99. If you pick up a voucher at the door beforehand, they will donate 15%. This is big. The committee will also be at 99 all day with vouchers to hand out. They will have 2 door prizes, a 50-50 drawing, and 2 other drawings as well. Again, whatever you eat, drinks, takeout, gift cards, anything you purchase that evening at the Club 99, 15% of that will be donated to the Wareham, the Friends of the Wareham Elderly. On December the 14th is the Christmas party, the Wareham Elderly Christmas party at the Multi-Service Center. This is going to be a great one. It starts at 12. I can't go yet because it's only seniors 60 and above. I'm getting close. The cost is $10. Must be reserved by December the 12th. And this is the event where they're going to have a beautiful hot and cold buffet and live entertainment by Daddy O. So that'll be really good. On December the 17th, the school department, come and join us at the middle school auditorium at 1 p.m., December 17th, for a Christmas tribute to the Wiggle Show called Toot Toot Chugga Chugga. Got it. Now listen, this one again is age restrictive. It's only for children under 12, with adults will be admitted. So any adult that wants to go, grab a neighborhood kid that's under 12. Grandparents can bring grandchildren. Guardians can bring children. So find somebody that's 12 or under and show up. The show starts at 2. It's going to last approximately 1.5 hours, and it's $3 per person. And again, the Wiggles will be singing Christmas carols. On December the 17th, I know this one because I'm personally involved. I'll make that clarification up front. On December the 17th, from 1 p.m. until whenever. It seems that the schedule is getting longer by the day. In Onset, at Stevie B's Onset Sports Resort, we'll be holding a fundraiser for the victims of the Main Street fire. We had a meeting on Sunday, and already today's only Tuesday, and different bands throughout the community have. Nobody's going to get paid a dime to do anything on this event. We've already had 2 or 3 bands sign up to perform from 1 o'clock on. There's jokesters and clowns and things for the kids. And it's a way to try to help the family and other victims from that Main Street fire. Tickets will be $10, available at the door. If you'd like to just make a donation and buy some tickets, keep your tickets, because there will be a special raffle, and we'll have to advertise the winning ticket number. So if you buy a ticket to that event, don't throw it away, even if you're only buying it as a donation, because there will be a special raffle prize attached to that ticket. And I think, Mr. Chairman, Mrs. Winslow, do you have anything?
No, but
December the 3rd is...
the Friends of the Library is doing the Christmas fair with the books and crafts and other items, and also that's the day of the village Christmas with the tree lighting. No, that's the 10th. Right, the 3rd is the... But you should warn the people that are going to go to the Wiggles that they should bring earplugs.
And I believe on December the 3rd is also the annual Richard Maloney Foundation toy drive and dinner. That's going to be held back at the Elks this year.
Yep.
And I believe tickets for that are, I want to say $20 a
I
head.
think they're 20.
And a gift, and a toy for a child.
Yep.
Mr. Steiner?
I have no announcements.
Mrs. Begley?
I have 2 things. One, could you repeat the date and times for the 99?
Yes. The dates and times for the 99 are, where is it? Right here. December the 7th. Great meal, great deal. That's at Club 99. Oh, there is a time on here, from 12:30 to 8 p.m. So don't go in at 10 and think you're going to donate. You get your last voucher through around 8 o'clock.
And the Garden Club is having its annual fair on December 3rd as well, from 9 a.m. on, cookies and decorations.
Mr. Chairman, do you have anything?
No, I don't. Since I don't, next on the agenda is citizen participation. I have 3, 4. Start from the back of the room, on the right-hand side, on my right.
Thank you. Good evening. Sandy Slavin. Garden Club participated in the Veterans Parade, and we had a grand time. We passed out about 300 carnations along the route, so it was great seeing the people waving their carnations. But I really need to thank maintenance for what they've done to the town hall. Everybody should go up there and see what it looks like to see plaques and plaques and plaques of everybody that came from Wareham that participated in all our wars. It is absolutely spectacular. And for me to see my family goes back to the Civil War and see their names up there really meant something to me. But thank you. 2014 is coming up, and I was wondering, with all the selectmen on all the boards, commissions, and committees sitting down as their representative, is there anybody in town working on the 275th anniversary of the founding of Wareham? Is there any boards or committees or commissions working on the 200th anniversary of the invasion of the Nimrod? I know that Bourne, there is a Cape Cod Canal Centennial group that's been working for well over a year to put together events for the 2014, and I was wondering if Wareham's doing anything associated with that. And maybe some of that $121,000 we just got from the state could be set aside to help with that celebration, because it won't come cheap. I mean, there'll be some money involved, and it would be nice if some of that free cash from the state could be set aside for that celebration. And I'm sorry, Mr. Holmes, could you repeat the public hearing on Point Independence? I think I heard November 17th at 2 at the town hall. Where? It's either cafeteria or the auditorium, one or the other.
We didn't have the room. It'll be in Town Hall.
This is in town hall.
Yes, ma'am. You can check with Mr. Andrews, right, Mark?
Okay.
Perhaps we could put a sign on the
It must
door.
be posted on the wall over there, right?
Okay, because it's November 17th at 2, Point Independence expansion. And I know I've been coming before this board for the last couple weeks or month asking questions. I'm never intended to be negative with my questions, just that I have the questions, and I sort of thought me and other people who might be watching this would have the same questions. It was never intended to be negative, and I apologize if it came across that way. But I mean, the cost of moving the sewer pumps, to me, that should be known. The status of the sewer commission should be known, so I just apologize if it came across negative. It wasn't the intent of me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I'll inform everybody else. Mr. Andrews has open house from 3 to 5 on Thursdays, and if you need questions answered, that's the appropriate place to go. And other than that, citizen participation is more up on announcements that we have from other people. But anyways, if you need anything to know about the town, go there first. If it's a department issue, go to the departments first. We use the chain of command instead of coming right up here. Thank you very much. There was someone on the next one up in the back.
Dave Walton, District 3. I'm only here to make a couple of comments on a couple of issues. This is not a matter of questions to be answered right now or anything like that. Last week, there were 3 people here talking about the upgrading of Route 6/28. And I watched, and Mr. Schneider made an interesting comment. It wasn't pursued, but I think it was a good comment. Speaking from experience, and I repeat, speaking from experience, the current plans will not work. They will not save lives. Comment made by Mrs. Winslow about people getting run over. Unless they put and it cost should be less, as a matter of fact, a Jersey barrier with a chain link fence on top is the only way that road will be turned into somewhat safe. If you just put something that looks pretty, makes it a little wider, you will have people crossing that road. Older people, challenged people who have poor depth perception will be trying to cross the road, and they will be hurt. There will be people late at night crossing. If it's only accessible for safety vehicles, that means regular SUVs can do it also, and they will cross it. You have to. I'm speaking from experience. You have to make sure that no one can cross that road. That's statement one. I don't expect any answer. We're still 3 years away from that, but I think it's worth looking into, because what is planned will be very pretty, but it won't save lives, which should be the first priority, not aesthetic. The second comment, I watched and listened to people talk about our school bus issue. That's coming down the line. I have a very dear friend who's been in the bus business for 33 years. We were talking about it the other day, and I said, well, I'm going to throw this out. No one has made a comment about first totally eliminate all the buses we have. Take that out of the picture. Just go put a committee together and go look for vendors to give us some bids for a potential 3-year contract or what, to bus our children safely and dependably to our schools. The current school buses that we lease, whatever, use up that lease, get rid of them. If we own them, sell them. There is a market out there in Mexico, Central America, South America. They buy school buses, no problems. Even the Appalachia and Central United States, there are people that will buy school buses, so that's not a problem. That should be taken out of the picture and talk about, let's get a bid out. And the final thing was just mentioned, and the only reason I just looked at it myself, on the article tonight, there's the sewer commissioner election. I don't know what that will entail this evening, but it's been 13 months since we passed that at town meeting, and I just hope that this is now going to be something that will take place this April in the election. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else on the right-hand side? Nope, I'm going to save you for last. You're another constant.
Hi, my name is Tracy McCarthy, and I'm the incoming chair for the Canal Region Chamber of Commerce, and I'm also a Wareham resident. We do have several of our board members here tonight, as well as members of the Wareham Village Association. The Chamber has a very strong working relationship with the Wareham Village Association, the Onset Bay Association, and the Wareham Garden Club. We all work together to support both business and residential community. Tonight, we'd like to confirm that you all received the report and the email from our President and CEO, Maria Leva. She had asked that we be added to the agenda back in August, and at that time, Mr. Andrews didn't think it was necessary. But tonight, we're here to request that we do be added to the Selectmen's agenda, and we'd like to inform the Board of Selectmen about the Cape Cod Canal Region Chamber of Commerce and how well we work with many neighboring communities. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Someone's in the back.
My name is Dinah Taylor Roderick. I reside at 118 Sandwich Road, next door to 116 Sandwich Road, or what used to be 116. Or what used to be 116 Sandwich Road. It's a public hazard. It's a public safety concern. I've been to the Board of Health. I've gone up the chain of command, and I would want to know what the board is thinking about doing to resolve this issue. I understand the family's indigent, but this can't continue.
Okay, Mr. Andrews, you want to answer that?
Mr. Chairman, through you, this has been on many people's minds for many, many months, at least in my tenure. A hearing has been ordered by the Board of Selectmen. I believe it's December 7th, 6th, excuse me. Thank you, Selectman Begley. To take testimony from public safety officials, including the Chief of Police, Richard Stanley, our health agent, Bob Ethier, our Director of Inspectional Services, Mr. Burke, and Chief Robert McDuffie from the Wareham Fire District will be invited. And that's the process by which we'll go to address this, because we've just about tried every other avenue. This board has been kept up to date from reports from Mr. Ethier, and we're at that juncture right now where we need to take this action, and we'll have testimony and information data provided to the Board of Selectmen on December 6th.
Will a decision be made on December the 6th?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much. In the back. Then Mr. Gaines will be the next one. That'll be the last. No, the next one. The next one. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Marianne Rodino. I also reside in Wareham, and I have a question. I understand there's a meeting now for that property on December 6th. Has the Department of Environmental Protection been invited to that meeting to offer their opinion as to the hazards? And has the Wareham Conservation Commission been invited to that meeting as well?
Mr. Chairman, through you, this is a local matter. We will involve, if we need to, state and federal agencies, but it's a local matter. A determination of the process being completed needs to take place.
Has the Conservation Commissioner been out to the site, sir?
I believe he has a number of times. And as I've indicated, it's more it has leaned towards the health side of the equation because of the tremendous issues that date back, so that everybody's aware how long this has been going on, since the mid-1990s. So this board will be taking information and data from public safety officials locally that certainly will include all the town departments and once again, mostly public safety officials on the 6th. They can make a determination at that time. We'll move the process forward to take an action.
So as an individual, I could invite the Environmental Protection Agency myself? Because it is within 200 yards of a watershed, and it's on a buffer zone, and nothing has been done thus far in 10 months.
Well, once again, if I could, Mr. Chairman, this goes back to the mid-1990s. This has been ongoing when the individual was in the house before it burned down and action was being taken. I would just suggest that you work through my office or the Board of Selectmen's office.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, point of order.
State your point.
On the Conservation Commission, I walked that site last weekend, and I called the chairman and talked to him, and the Conservation Commission is involved in it right now, and I think you should put it on the list and have him show up, or one of our members. They are in violation of the Wetlands Protection.
All right. Mr. Gaines?
Thank you. Larry Gaines, friend of Wareham BoS. Through you, Mr. Chairman, and Board of Selectmen and women. Steve, last week you mentioned something about these people had fires and how they were looking for help. 508. I mean, I got all my people ready to at least try to do what we can for the elderly of that. We used to deliver Meals on Wheels there, so we know there are qualified people there that we can help, you know. 508-295-7595. 7595. You won't get me. Just leave it on the answering service, because I'll be up in Plymouth, unfortunately. No, that's fine. We can get them some immediate, help with some small amounts of cash for necessities or things that they may need to just to get them through to your big, your big fundraiser. Just to refine something, the Toot Toot Chugga Chugga show. The school advised me it's better to take 9 years old and down. So I have to correct that. I had originally said 12, and I didn't hear your comment.
Earplugs for the adults.
Oh, okay.
It's
an
probably
active.
more 5 and under, actually.
We felt, as friends of Wareham's elderly, that we should start doing some intergenerational events once a year. This year we picked the younger children. Next year we're going to go for the older and the high schools, and the schools have agreed to do this with us. So this is meant to get grandparents and parents and custodians of various children, and the price is very reasonable for $3, to have a good hour and a half of fun with their children. So please give it some serious consideration with your grandchildren, especially grandparents. If I had my grandchildren here, I'd fill the seats up. The other thing on the Dining for a Cause, it's from 12:30 start to 8 o'clock in the evening, any time during the day. No reservations needed. Just make sure they get a voucher from us at the door. If you want to go 3, 4, the 15% is very important to us to make sure that we have the funds that we would like to help people with who are in trouble, especially now. So all we do is ask for the support of whoever can come. And that's it for now. And thank you for your time. God bless you.
Thank you. Mr. Gaines, I actually think you'll sell out that Wiggle show. They are very popular. I could sing their songs for you just to give you a... No, I did it once.
I think citizens' participation is over. Thank you. Let's move on. Discussion on Westfield. I think we already had We already
Yeah,
had a
Mr. Chair,
prior
just to
meeting.
recap real
Go
quick, we had a meeting at 6 p.m. with the Westfield Recommendations Committee, and we have scheduled a workshop open to the public on December the 3rd from 8:30 to 11:30 p.m. a.m. right here in this room, where we'll be inviting in both committees, the chairman of the Board of Selectmen and the Westfield Study Review Committee. We'll be putting out invitations to developers and experts in this area just to try to review what we've asked for and maybe give us some ideas. The deadline did close this past week, and we got 0 responses on the last RFP that we sent out. So without going into a lot of detail, I think the general feeling is, hey, let's get some experts in, people from both committees and developers, and let's have a discussion about what we're asking for. Does that pretty much cover it? Board?
Thank you. Gateway Chamber of Commerce.
Hello, good evening. I'd like to thank the town administrator, Mark Andrews, chairman of the board, Walter Cruz, and the rest of all the selectmen. My name is Patricia Morocco. I am the executive director / CEO of the newly formed Gateway Chamber of Commerce. Our location is, at present, in the town of Wareham. I'm going to just read a little bit of an announcement, okay?
Yes.
The Gateway Chamber of Commerce, a nonprofit 501c6 corporation, is pleased to announce that effective immediately, it is inviting memberships from the businesses community at large. Formation of the newly established chamber came about in response to a growing need among area businesses and organizations for a body that would serve local interest and provide networking, educational, and business development opportunities. We invite proprietors of businesses, small and large, to join and participate in continuing the vitalization of our local economy. Reaction to our new chamber has been swift and encouraging. We receive several inquiries a day from proprietors as well as nonprofit organizations eager to join. Chamber members will be able to participate in business expos, workshops, and job fairs, as well as government affairs, meetings where local and state officials will discuss topics of vital local interest. Members can receive a wide range of help available to them from the Chamber's Business Assistance Center. To help the local economy, the Chamber is planning a number of charitable fundraising events over the next several weeks, including what hopes to be and become an annual event called the Festival of Trees. This year, it is being held in conjunction with the Wareham Village Association's Christmas Parade on December 10th, following the parade, which ends up at Town Hall in Wareham. Hot chocolate, refreshments will be served, and the public will be invited to bid on a variety of decorated Christmas trees donated by local merchants and chamber members. Proceeds will benefit local charities for families in need. If you want more information about the Gateway Chamber of Commerce, please log on to www.gatewaychamberofcommerce.com or call 508-273-7050. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you have anything? I think there's 2 other people at the table. Oh. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Consent agenda.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
do we get to ask questions?
if you'd like to.
Well, I'm very curious about this new venture.
Emmett. You want to come on up?
I guess I'm curious as to what the driving force is and who the founders of this organization are. I mean, Wareham has been very fortunate over the last couple decades to be part of the Cape Cod Canal Regional Chamber of Commerce, who's done an awful lot, not just for the local businesses, but for the community at large. In a time when cities and towns and every other entity is looking to regionalize, we're looking to create something small and inclusive. And I guess I was kind of shocked to see this. I don't.
Emmett, do you want to comment? Emmett, Bernie? Go ahead.
Let me make a comment, if I may, and
Excuse me, I'll just interrupt one moment. Bernie is on the Board of Directors. Bernie Son.
and would you introduce that?
And Emmett is also on the Board of Directors. It's Emmett Johar.
Thank you. To answer your question, as I recall, you said what was the driving force behind it, and in a very simple term, the driving force is the merchants, some of the merchants in Wareham. Quite a few, as a matter of fact. We can all agree that the purpose of a chamber is to serve the needs of its membership. And I'm sure that the Canal Region does exactly that, serves the needs of its membership, and they're doing a fine job for it. However, we can also agree that not all the businesses want to be members of the Canal Region. In fact, the driving force that we've been getting over the last perhaps 3 years is some people want to have a very small parochial kind of group. It's just like if you were going to have a family get-together, I don't think you'd feel comfortable if we invited the whole neighborhood. So that was a driving force, and we're just simply responding to the needs of people that want it. To make it very clear also, we're not soliciting members that are members of the other chambers. It's certainly open to their choice. And that's why we formed the chamber, to meet the needs of our local merchants who asked for it.
Thank you.
Mr. Begley?
Hi. So what I'm just assuming that this is an announcement, just to, this board doesn't have any purview over saying yes or no on whether or not something like this goes forward. But my question is this: have you been approached by any towns that are not wouldn't consider themselves as the Canal Chamber of Commerce businesses? Have there been any other more inland type towns that have expressed interest in the Gateway Chamber of Commerce?
I will say that I have heard from Marion and Rochester, some that were not members of the Canal Chamber. They were actually members in New Bedford and have not been members in New Bedford for the past year or two. Those are what I have not actually met one member so far that wants to come on with us that is a member of the Canal Chamber. That's, you know.
So it certainly, I mean, this shouldn't be any kind of competition in my view. I think that people certainly can have dual memberships, or there can be cooperative efforts made.
I'm finding that a lot of banks, realtors, and so forth belong to 3, 4, and there's a few that even belong to 5 chambers. Different chambers. They want the business, and they'll go to any extent to get it. That's what I'm hearing from banks, realtors, and a few other larger businesses. They belong to several. My past experience being in business, I belong myself to 2 different chambers at one time. So it's not uncommon, no. And there is plenty of business out there.
So this chamber kind of came about to have Wareham as be the primary focus and the businesses in Wareham, but it also would serve to have collaborative efforts with other chambers, other towns, and other regions. So it's not something that you're looking to be exclusive, it's just something that would be more concentrated in the town of Wareham, but you definitely would seek to have collaborative
And
efforts.
to enhance the networking.
Mhm.
Enhance networking and to help the economy with other chambers, that's fine. We're open to all the communities surrounding. And it's only going to make all of us stronger and make the economy here thrive a little bit easier, I feel.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Holmes?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Listen, hey, free enterprise is in the air. I have received concerns from local businesses, and I share their concerns. Many of them, and this town, quite frankly, have relied on the canal chamber for many years when we needed something. Listen, businesses are free to join whatever chamber they want. I'm a pretty much a free enterprise kind of guy, so I wish you good luck on your chamber. But people are concerned. I can tell you, I for one share that concern, obviously, with a new startup, that we don't fragment our business community, because I see that already happening in the first week. And I've only heard about this actually 3 days ago when I picked up my packet. So I don't know why we haven't heard much about this. But I did want to ask, because you list people here as the officers, and you really should take this moment while
Are
you're
you
on
speaking
TV
about the articles?
sorry?
What are you speaking? You said I list people?
Yeah, the officers of the corporation that you've formed while you're on TV. I'll give you that opportunity on my time to say who these people are, what businesses they represent, and do a little advertisement. You have Amit, right? Amit. Tell us who the president is, where he's from, what business he represents.
Okay, and we are willing, Steve, to do that at any time if we make a
opportunity.
form.
Right now, it's free advertisement.
Okay.
Right now.
We are willing to do that at another time.
Oh.
Unless, Bernie, you want to entertain that at this moment? This was strictly an announcement. I believe that the filing with the state is right in front of you if you do have it, and anyone is welcome to go online and read that themselves.
Okay.
Okay?
That's fine.
I mean, that's public, it's public information. The chambers are all public information. And we'll be more than willing. We formed at the end of October. It does state that there. And any other information, I'm sure that it's available to the public at any time. Okay?
Mr. Snyder?
Just one question. Is there, between the Gateway Chamber and, say, New Bedford, are there other Chamber of Commerces? I know that as someone whose family owns a business in Wareham, I've had trouble going in that direction in particular. So this is kind of exciting for me to see a Chamber of Commerce where maybe it will be on this side of the bridge, kind of branching out in opposite directions, while I appreciate the work of the Canal Chamber also. So can you tell me, do you have any information on that? Because I know that I certainly haven't.
I can't speak specifically, but I have heard about Middleborough, Carver, in that area, there being another chamber. It's probably much smaller. New Bedford, Fairhaven has something. Mattapoisett goes to New Bedford a lot, is what I'm hearing, but not as much so. Marion, maybe in Rochester. Okay, this was a group of businesses who, for a very long time, and what I'm hearing, up to 2.5 to 3 years now, have been trying to do this. So it's been a long time coming. This isn't something that just happened immediately.
I think it's a great idea for local businesses, and I certainly look forward to hearing more from you folks.
Okay, thank
I
you.
want to thank you very much for stepping forward and doing what you're doing now, because like Mr. Holmes said, this is free enterprise. So it's just like saying we already have a restaurant, don't open another one. So go for it, and whatever we can do to enhance Wareham, it's a plus on our side, and I know that you can work together with the other chamber. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you.
Consent agenda, Mr. Holmes?
This was put off from last week. I thought this was, I don't know why it's back this week. This is actually an agenda item somewhere, I thought. Under sewer business. Oh,
Mr. Chairman.
Dean is here to talk about it, I guess. All right. Well, and we have an authorization to sign and pay bills. I would make a motion to get the discussion underway. Then we pay invoice number 1 for the sum of $24,964.03 on the contract 3.
Second.
Motion made, motion second. Discussion.
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
First, for discussion, I had actually thought that we had agreed that contract 3 would be placed on the agenda for this week. Am I mistaken in that?
Well,
A discussion?
right, this is invoice for contract 3.
Just comma, contract 3, not contract 3.
Right.
Well, I would ask my fellow selectmen how they would propose to pay this bill, where the funds would come from. Or should I say, my fellow sewer commissioners?
Well, according to the contract and everything else, well, okay, we have the man right up here to answer the questions. Go
I
ahead.
certainly don't have all the answers. Good evening. Thanks for having me. Back in May 2nd, 2006, there was an Article 20 for the town that authorized to borrow $1.5 million to do a design on 7 areas. This invoice for $24,000 is the completion of that $1.5 million. To date, we've paid $1,470,860. This 24 will bring a total payment of $1,494,900, completing the contract that we, by town meeting vote in 2006, of $1.5 million. So we've been paying this right along. There's a breakdown of what we've had paid to date. We've already paid, again, $1,470,000. So we've been paying this right along. This is nothing new. It's spread out all the contracts, and it's not, what I'm hearing is that it's coming out of contract 3. That's not true. It's an individual article for the $1.5 million. This is the last of the payments.
Any question, Mr. Bigley?
I agree that it comes out of that sum of money, but in that particular article, it identified the areas to be sewered and what the design was for. So my question is this to this board. We're going to authorize to pay $24,000 because town meeting said that we could expend $1.5 million, and in the language of the article, it identifies the areas that are in contract 3. And in the same town meeting, which was the spring of 2006, the town also authorized the borrowing of $20 million. And the language of the article says of constructing, supervising construction of a sewer system in the Tempest Knob, Agawam Beach, Linwood Ladd Ave, Parkwood Beach, Cremisa Park, Oakdale, and Mayflower Ridge sections of town, shown in the Comprehensive Wastewater Management Plan, Single Environment Impact Report dated March 2002. So we're also not complying with the language of that article that was voted on unanimously.
Well, I'm not so sure of that, and I'll tell you why I say that. First of all, in 2006, we had the 1.5 to design. We have all designs. We haven't completed contract 3. In 2007, Article 5 speaks to the $20 million you're talking about a year later, spring of 27, and it says to complete that. Now, we have a 20-year comprehensive wastewater plan. We haven't got to that time yet. We postponed contract 3. We haven't said we're not doing it. We haven't said it's off the table. We said we postponed it. Now we can move forward and get it and meet the deadline, the 20-year deadline for the comprehensive wastewater treatment plan. So we're planning on moving forward. And so we're going to fulfill our obligation. We'll fulfill the language. We just took it off the table last year, and we'll just pick it up and continue. So I think we can fulfill all the agreements.
So we
that
do.
made.
The sewer commissioners do.
Well, that's my, of course, you're going to have to talk to the town. I'm not putting words in your mouth. I'm not telling you what to do. All I'm saying is that we can complete it. That's all I'm saying. Because you were saying to me that we're done. No, we're not done. As far as I know, we postponed it. I don't remember any language that said it's off the table. That's, it's still on the table, to my understanding.
Any other questions from the board?
Mr. Chairman, I don't think that I'm clear on where these funds have been coming from. I guess that's my question. Where's
From
the
the 20
$1.5
million. It's been
million?
coming from the 20 million we borrowed in 2007. It's come from that $20 million to do all these things. And well, that's not true. Let me go back. In 2006, we borrowed $1.5 million for all the designs. We've got all the designs. They've been doing the designs. The designs are complete, including Mayflower, including Agawam. We have the design. So this $24,000 is the last payment for that 1.5. That's all it is. So this appropriation of 1.5, we've obviously borrowed the money from the WPC, I think it is, or whatever it is, the program the state has. We've borrowed the money. So we're just making this is the last payment to CDM for their work of designing all the sewer projects.
I'm not clear on this, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I don't know if I can make it any clearer than what he did. In other words, in the beginning, I know you're in construction also, they got 1.5 for the design of the whole project. So this money here is for the design of the project, part of the design of the project. So this is going against that 1.5 that we have.
Mr. Chairman, with all due respect, how has this been paid for? How has the design been paid for? What we borrowed the money. How are we paying the money back?
All money for Water Pollution Control Center is paid out of their fund.
The capital side of the budget is paying this. I looked at through July 1st, 2010, the outstanding betterments, and I don't see the 1.5 listed. I see a lot of betterment projects not bettered. The question, to get more specific to your question, would be something John Foster could answer as to exactly where that is. But all I can tell you is that the town meeting authorized 1.5. So obviously the money has been borrowed because we've been paying them right along. We've been paying them since they started the design. So they've been getting, and the contract calls for incremental payments. We've been doing that right along. So the money had to have been borrowed. And it must be part of Tom Casey can explain that because he puts it together. So my point is, it's through the money we borrowed through the state. It's just been paid right along.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to have all the answers before I vote on this. I'd like to have Mr. Foster come in. I'd like to have him go through the betterments again. I'd like to know if this is coming from the betterments, if it's coming from the sewer user fee. I'd like to know exactly how we're paying for this.
Mrs. Winslow?
Mr. Chair, thank you. This is not the first bill that we've, or I shouldn't say we, but that past boards have had in regards to Contract 3.
Not at all. We've been paying this right along, ma'am. Contract 3, to date, we've paid approximately, let me just get this out here for you, I can tell you. There's a whole list of signatures, the chairmans of selectmen for quite some time on these bills. They're all in here. You can read them all. But to date, Contract 3, we've paid $353,360. That's been paid right along. So every selectman board previous to you has agreed to pay these bills for all these, for this project, the design project, the $1.5 million design project. We've been paying it right along. So we borrowed the 1.5, and we've been paying it right along.
And to make that clear, Mr. Campini, that's for design only.
Design only. This is just for design, strictly. And then in 2007, we went back to the town meeting and got permission to borrow $20 million to start the projects, as I understand it. And I'm sure there's some fine details that I'm not aware of that someone probably can elaborate on, but that's the general.
Just to elaborate on Selectman Schneider's question, I understand that we borrowed the 1.5. That's indisputable. The question is, how is the 1.5 being paid back? Is that coming out of, are the taxpayers paying that 1.5? Are the sewer users paying that 1.5? So the sewer users. So that's coming out of betterments or the enterprise fund.
Yes, the capital side of it, yes. It's coming out of the debt side. We have $3.5 million in debt. It's coming out of that side of it. And it's kind of confusing because as I look it over, some of the EDU rates are paying debt. So we've got people that have paid off their betterment still paying debt, so that's something we need to discuss. But generally, yes, the sewer users are paying the bill. That's who's paying the bill. Not the taxpayers, the sewer users. The taxpayers have nothing to do. All debt is incurred by sewer users, either
So-
for betterment or EDU. And part of our EDU pays non-better debt is paid exclusively by the EDU, which would be the plant, things of that sort, some of the projects in the pump stations. And I specifically tried to find this 1.5 to see where it was, and I can't find it. But
Too much information. Sorry, Guy. It's, so, town meeting, so not everyone at town meeting are sewer users, authorized the town to borrow $1.5 million, but I didn't see that in the language of the article, that it would be paid back by sewer users, that the debt incurred would be incurred only by sewer users, so that's interesting to me. Also, the $20 million that was subsequent to the project, I don't see that it says, it says that it would be authorized to assess betterments. Okay, so in the subsequent article, the selectman is authorized to assess betterments for the total design and construction costs by the uniform unit payment method. So those are the EDU. So the sewer users in the subsequent article, so town meeting that could have been, I don't know, could have been 100% sewer users for all I know, but it could have also been 10% sewer users, authorized the borrowing of $1.5 million, then $20 million to be paid back by the sewer users. So that's where the money's coming from.
from the betterment, sewer users in general, yes. Sewer users are paying for this, absolutely. Absolutely. And they have been right along.
So this was for, this was also inclusive of Contract 3, with the hopes that the betterments, there would be more betterments, there'd be more people online, and more people paying off debt.
Well, one could say that. I won't, I can't answer that, but yes, I'm sure they're assuming the entire project, and we haven't completed the entire project, but yes, you could say that. Sewer users are going to pay for it, absolutely.
Mr. Campina, you keep
Yes.
saying that it's being paid for through the betterments. Is that
Well,
correct?
Well, let me be more
Or
specific.
generally speaking,
Generally, betterments and EDUs, so sewer users. Sewer users pay betterments, they pay
Let me
EDUs.
just, I don't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, no
but,
problem.
but this is part of my problem.
Yeah.
Is it one or is it both?
You're asking about the 1.5,
No, I'm asking about the $353,363.
which is part of the 1.5 is paid by the sewer users, and you're asking if it's part of the betterment or if it's EDU. I don't see it on the betterment list, so I'd have to say the EDU. I'm not 100% sure, and like you said, you'd like to get that clarification from Mr. Foster as to specifically, but it's coming from the sewer users. No matter how you look at it, the sewer users are paying for it.
I think it's important to have that answer because, number one, I don't know how this $353,000 could be charged towards betterments for people in different areas.
Well, I think
It has been.
it may not
Right
be the
along.
betterment. All
Right.
that money is paid to the water pollution control facilities. So whatever it is from that. The other one has been divided up according to the contract. Mrs. Winslow?
Mr. Chair, that's what I was just about to point out. When the Contract 1 betterments were set, they were not inclusive of any costs associated with any other contract. It was specifically the costs associated with Contract 1, the design, the installation, any change orders, et cetera, et cetera. I think there was a $60,000 rock removal in there. The cost of looking to make an improvement or to bring additional users on board or design additional sewer is a capital expense. So it would be paid and should only be paid by the enterprise fund, but not as part of any benefit, betterment, Mr. Campina. That should not be inclusive on those lists. And I know it wasn't included on the Contract 1 list, and it's not going to be included on the Contract 2 list. We went out to bid. The bids that came back were cost prohibitive at this point, under the current scenario that's set up for Contract 3.
Mr. Chairman, time out, if I may.
Are you calling the point?
Yes. Point of order, this conversation has now left the ranch. The motion is to pay this bill which was seconded, and we have discussion. Contract 3, and the discussion of Contract 3 is not allowed.
Mi-
This is on a consent agenda to pay this bill or not pay the bill, or table the bill, not
Point.
to discuss Contract 3.
Point made and taken, it is. Now,
Mr.
we
Chair,
either-
I'm
There's a motion, excuse me, as Mr. Holmes said, there's a motion made, to either pay this bill or not to pay it.
I understand that, but if he had allowed me to finish my statement and get to the end of my point, it would be that when and if this project goes ahead, this will be part of that betterment. It's not like it's going to get sucked into a big black hole paid for by the sewer users because it's a dead issue. I guess that's the point that I'm trying to make, is that
Okay, getting back to the motion. Motion is made, and we had a discussion. I think we had enough discussion on my part as far as I'm concerned. Because it is either to pay it or not to pay it.
Mr. Chair, I think that, respectfully, Mr. Holmes, this is a Contract 3 bill. It's Contract 3 design bill, so it's within the scope of your motion. And until I know where this money is coming from and I don't care how many selectmen have signed off on any bills. It doesn't mean because many people signed off on something without being fully informed as to where the money was coming from, doesn't make it right. So until I know who is paying these bills, me authorizing just to pay this without knowing who's paying it is irresponsible.
I think it was told
Well,
up front.
Mr. Chairman,
It's
if
going
I
to
might
be the
just-
water
if I
pollution
might just
control.
make-
But
answer
it's
that,
going to
please.
it's going to be paid by the Washington Water Pollution Control Center.
Right,
Thank
Mrs. Begley, to be clear, I understand the use of the word Contract 3 in the discussion of paying this bill. Where I thought we were going off the ranch is when we started discussing why Contract 3 was tabled. And to me, that was my point. I understand this is a Contract 3 bill. When we started talking about reasons why, I think that took us off the reservation. I'm sorry.
Motion's been made, discussion has been, we take a vote. All in favor of paying this bill? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
3-2. 3-2-0.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Campina.
you.
Next, we have minutes from, I'm sorry, no legal bills, all right. Next is the approval of July 12th, 2011. I make a motion to approve as written.
second.
Motion by Steve, seconded by Kara. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? 5-0-0.
Next, we have the minutes. Next are the minutes from July 26, 2011. I make a motion that we approve as written.
Motion made by Steve,
Second.
seconded by Kara. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? 5-0-0.
Next, we have the minutes. Yes, I make a motion that we approve the minutes from October 25th, 2011 as written.
Second.
Motion made by Steve, seconded by Kara. Any questions? If none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 5-0-0.
Next, I have the minutes from, make a motion that we approve the minutes of November 1st, 2011 as written.
Mr. Chair, I'll second for discussion. They have me as absent, however, they also have me as seconding and making several motions, so.
I did send her that note. If you
So
would,
that is incorrect.
if
you're
you would
saying.
remove your second.
I'll withdraw my second.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of November 1st as written with the correction that Mrs. Winslow was present.
Second.
Motion made by Steve, second by Kara. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 500.
And just to give the board an update, we're getting pretty close. I think we had another 5 or 6 this week that I've read through, and I wrote a couple. So I know it's a pain to get caught up, but we're getting there. I think we've gotten about 20 through now in the last 4 or 5 weeks. So, and then after the first of the year, I'll sit down with the chairman, and we'll do that thing with the town council to deal with it.
Right, okay, yeah, on that, what happens, I think town council and Shirley can go through it, because anything legal for executive, right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, right, and anything that we approved and put on hold, they can go through it, and like you said, the first of the year, if you want to sit in on it, that'd be fine. Yeah, and we have been doing good, because we've been getting 3 to 5.
Well, yeah, thank you very much to the team in the office, Janet and Mrs.
Figueroa.
Yeah, I don't want to get the name wrong. Mrs. Figueroa, Rebecca, thank you so much. We really appreciate the effort. Next, Mr. Chairman, we have an interview for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. We have one vacancy that exists. And Mr. Suey, are you here? There you are. Come right on up, Steve. Mr. Suey. It is Steve, right? Yeah.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Speak directly
Sure.
into the mic pretty close. If you wouldn't mind to identify yourself and share with the board what your interest is in serving on the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Committee.
Sure. My name's Steve Suey. I live at 11 D'Angelo Road. I grew up in Wareham. My parents, my mom and her whole family grew up here. So I've been in Wareham quite a long time. I've had 15 years experience with the Buzzards Bay Area Habitat for Humanity and Habitat for Humanity International, doing an international trip down to Paraguay, building houses, and then doing local projects around here for affordable housing. By trade, I am a commercial lender with a local bank, and this is just a passion of mine, is providing decent, affordable places for people to live. So I think there needs to be more of it in Wareham, and more of it done the right way.
Questions from the board? Yes.
Hi, Mr. Sui.
Hey.
I see here we had an email that said that you attended 2 Affordable Housing Trust meetings,
Correct.
and you attended as a potential applicant for both?
No, one as a potential applicant.
So that's really... Did you attend the whole meeting for the other meeting?
Yeah, I believe I was there for a good part of it anyways. I'm not sure if I was...
But you didn't attend as a potential applicant?
No, not the one before. That was
And
with...
you attended that for what purpose?
That one was with the Buzzards Bay Area Habitat for Humanity when I was serving as president for them. I am no longer on the board for Habitat. I stepped down at the end of September.
Mm-hmm. So my other question is this. I noticed that you didn't attach any kind of disclosure with your application. And you kind of have represented yourself as an agent with someone that is involved with potential litigation with the town?
No. That was a separate issue. I was representing the Buzzards Bay Area Habitat for Humanity, trying to get the deed restrictions on 2 other properties corrected, as well as that one. He is totally separate. The only relationship for that transaction was he bought that house at auction from the Buzzards Bay Area Habitat for Humanity.
But you accompanied that gentleman to a number of meetings that the Board of Selectmen had with him?
Correct, because we were trying to straighten out that issue because we felt that it was it was Habitat's responsibility as well.
Right, but if it should progress into any sort of litigation, you would not be a representative of the town, correct?
Correct.
You'd be representing the client, the person that has the issue.
Only to the point where if I was called for testimony or things of that nature as far as the facts of what happened. I'm not affiliated with him as far as we're not in business together. There's no.
No, but you served on a number of committees with him, yes?
No. I served on Habitat, and like I said, he bought it at auction from Habitat,
Yes, I understand.
and I served Canal Chamber. We're on that board together. He's a local business guy, and so we are on different organizations together. That is true.
Right, so far you've attended one meeting as a potential applicant for the Affordable Housing Trust,
Correct.
and that was the interview. Now, to my knowledge, the Affordable Housing Trust, and I think that my colleague could probably address this, that I don't believe that they've voted yet on making a recommendation, but thanks for applying.
Mr. Host?
Yeah, I just. Hey, Steve, thank you very much. Yeah, I was just trying to make sure that I understood that. So, legally, you have no. Boy, he's going to kill me. You have no. You are not an agent for Mr. Lakaya. I think that's. Get the elephant out of the room. You're not an agent for Mr. Lakaya. You're not his lawyer. You don't
no.
defend him. You don't represent him in any way, shape, or form. Is that correct?
Correct.
And that's really all I had, because for you and for the town, obviously we don't want to have any issues of conflict. But you were in a separate capacity than Mr. Lakaya, correct?
Correct.
Thanks.
Is that it, Mr. Holmes?
That's it, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Snyder?
Good evening, Mr. Sui. I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about the types of affordability restrictions that you've been involved with. How many you've actually placed on properties within Wareham?
With Habitat, we did. When we first started off, the way they did the restrictions was basically they just did a second mortgage on the properties that was basically forgiven after the family lived there for a number of years. From that, they realized that wasn't the proper way to do it, and they went into doing more of 40B and LIP type projects, and that's where what they still do is the LIP restrictions. So I've been involved with doing that, and then through my commercial lending, traditional 40B projects as far as working through them.
So how many deed restrictions have you actually been able to obtain on properties?
Habitat has 8 properties, 8 affordable housing properties in Wareham that I was involved with.
And are they all deed restricted?
They are all deed restricted or in the process of trying to get deed restrictions. We had 3 properties, one of which was 2 North Beach Street, that had deed restrictions put on that were, 2 of them were put on that were deemed invalid. So they are in the process of trying to get those recognized as valid deed restrictions. One in Onset and one on Marion Road in Wareham.
And as far as 40B, what types of ideas or projects do you have in mind that would solve or help go towards solving the 40B problem here in Wareham?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I like to see that the town work closely with any potential developer doing more LIP type projects where the town works hand in hand with the developer and it's not confrontational. I don't like seeing the 40B projects where a developer comes in and just kind of dictates to the town what's going to be done and are in it solely for the profit of it. I like to see projects that are truly going to be affordable housing, and quite frankly, again, I was on the board of Habitat for a number of years, and I think they made quite a few mistakes in their process of trying to get things done and get things going, and sometimes put the cart before the horse. So I'd like to see that done better.
Well, I appreciate your applying as well, and I know that the Affordable Housing Trust still has to vote, but I appreciate your interest.
Mrs. Rizzo?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Sui, it's always nice to see somebody who comes to the table with a resume such as yours and a dedication. Habitat's a wonderful organization. They do a lot of good in a lot of places. My only question for you is, are you a U.S. citizen?
Yes.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you for stepping up and volunteering. We need all the people we can get to volunteer, and it's good to see new people stepping up. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Holmes?
Mr. Chair, just to clarify, the Board of Selectmen make the appointments to the boards, and there's no requirement for us to hold off waiting for recommendations from boards. There's 2 applicants for this position.
Mr. Chair, if I could update the board on this, I thought we would wait for Mr. Sui to return to his seat before we have any of these discussions. Thank you, Mr. Sui. To update the position is 1 vacancy that exists on the Affordable Housing Trust Fund committee. We received an email today. The Affordable Trust interviewed Stephen Sui during our 11:10 meeting. This was the second AHT, everybody with their little initials these days, the Affordable Housing Trust meeting that he attended. He is a strong candidate for the AHT opening. He is the past president of Buzzards Bay Humanity and very supportive of affordable housing. There's a second applicant who has withdrawn consideration. So Mr. Sui at this point is the only applicant that we have. That's all I got.
Mr. Begley?
Mr. Chair, through you to Mr. Holmes, the email that we received that you just read part of it, was the Affordable Housing Trust aware that that applicant had withdrawn? Because that's not what the... Right, but that's not what this says. It says there's another applicant, Liz McDonald.
She's not. I called her to confirm today just to see what was going on here. She hasn't been to any meetings. They did invite her to an interview, and she didn't go.
So,
That was a couple months ago.
So has Mrs. McDonald said, has she conveyed that she's withdrawn?
Yes, ma'am. I just sent a note to confirm because her application is probably 3 or 4 months old. Well, maybe she didn't go to your. I'm not going to have a discussion with the public. Mr.
I'll tell you.
Maybe she. I don't know if she went to that committee, but before this went any further, I gave a courtesy shout to see what the applicant's intentions were, and she's not interested in this position.
Okay, we do have someone on there, and this is the time of the month that we usually appoint. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to appoint Mr. Stephen Sui to a term on the Affordable Housing Trust Fund to expire no later than June 30th, 2013.
Motion made by Mrs. Winslow. I hear a second.
Wait a second.
Second by Steve.
What was the?
That's the expiration date of the resigned term, June 30th, 2013.
Right.
I have June 13th on
It's the month and the year.
here. Okay. Duh.
If hearing any, not hearing any
I'll
other
second
questions?
that. I'll second
Yep.
that, by the way.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That 1, 2, 3, 2, 0.
Okay, next up, I got a note here from, oh, wait a minute. Affordable Housing Trust Fund, Board of Health. Board of Health. We announced a couple of weeks ago that we were looking for a physician. Last week, the board talked about it again, and apparently we're not looking for a physician. We have 1 vacancy, 1 full-time vacancy on this board. There were Three applicants. The Board of Health has interviewed the following citizens who have expressed interest in the full-time membership of the board: Mr. Frank DeFelice, Mr. Robert Brady, Mr. Joseph Mulkern. And I'm reading this, October 27th to the Board of Selectmen. After much thought and consideration, we, the Board, respectfully recommend to the Board of Selectmen Mr. Joseph Mulkern for the full membership on the Board of Health. Mr. Mulkern will be able to offer the Board of Health his 6 years' experience and knowledge as a former board member in the town of Pembroke. Mr. Mulkern has experience in restaurant inspection, soil evaluation. Title V regulations were consistent with the needs of the board. We received that on October 27th. Let me make sure that I have all the information from Janet first. One vacancy exists for a full-time member. We have 3 applicants. Attached is the memo. The expiration for the appointment will be June 30th, 2012, since the person chosen would be taking over Dr. Tom Gleason's term.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I just want to say that last month we received a similar letter with a recommendation for the 2 associate members. And this board, prior boards, have been pretty consistent about associate members moving up to full memberships. I have some real concerns about having an entirely new Board of Health with some of the issues that are going on here. And I also have some concerns about how the recommendation changes every single month. I mean, we've received a recommendation for the 2 associates, and now we're receiving a recommendation for a different person. And I do think that the whole purpose of having these associates is so that they can be there, be familiar with the issues, and eventually move into these full positions. And that's how it's always been. And I'm not sure why it's been an issue this time, but I'm going to make a motion to appoint Mr. Robert Brady to a full membership position on the Board of Health for a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2012.
Motion made for Mr. Brady.
I'll second that.
For discussion.
Right, okay.
In the past, to address some of Mrs. Winslow's concerns, the conduct of the associate members have been a concern to the Board of Health, and they've expressed that to me.
You can't make any derogatory comments or anything about
That's not
any associate.
derogatory. I said conduct. The Board of Health has not been changing their recommendations on a monthly basis. There has been some concerns as to what the makeup of the board is. Certainly, Mr. Cruz could certainly address some of the conduct issues that, for this particular member that Mrs. Winslow has recommended. And the Board of Health is one of the most important boards in the town of Wareham. It cannot be a political battleground. It has to be, right now, we don't have a quorum, but it's been a political battleground with these associate members.
Mr. Chair, these associate members are not here to address these concerns. Mr. Ethier, neither Mr. Ethier, who's the health agent, nor Mrs. Irish, who is the chairman of this board, has ever brought these concerns to this board as a whole for us to address.
There aren't any other questions?
Well, yes, I have some questions and I have some observations. Had this Board of Health, this current Board of Health, wished to bring forth Mr. Brady, I'm certain that they would have done so.
They did so last month.
I'm sorry, don't interrupt me.
Excuse me.
I have the floor. What are his qualifications? We have qualifications of the member that they put forward. He was a member of the Board of Health in Pembroke for 6 years. It was an elected position. Conducted food inspection services, is a certified soil evaluator, a retired plumber, is well-versed in Title V regulations. What are the please let me know what the qualifications are of the member that you put forth.
The motion before us is on Mr. Brady. There are any other questions? Was motion made in second? Need a show of hands or voice when I do this. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
And going back to what Mrs. Winslow said, there was two other memos from the Board of Health, and both of them had recommended both associates members. And all of a sudden, like she did say, they all of a sudden they changed. So that's their prerogative, I think, to change, but that was it. Okay, that one's, Mr. Brady's out.
Well, I'll make a motion for the other associate member. I do believe in associate members, and why bother if you're not going to promote them? I'd make a motion to appoint Frank DeFelice, an associate member, to the full-time membership of the Board of Health.
Second.
Motion made. Second by,
The man has more licenses and certifications than most people in southeastern Massachusetts, and I think I can make that claim. He could actually run our sewer plant.
For discussion?
discussion, right?
My concern is this. Right now, there's an ongoing complaint on this particular associate member. Associate member is not an automatic. They are there. It's just any citizen. They have the same rights as any citizen that's on the board. They are there not for an automatic appointment. It's to learn the job. It's to be aware of the situations that are going on in this particular town. And right now, with various outbursts that have occurred during the meetings, and there's an ongoing complaint, absolutely not. I couldn't possibly support this appointment.
Any other questions? No other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
3, 2, 0.
I have a note here from my partner in the back, Mr. Slavin. The Marine Resources Committee is Mr. O'Rourke here? Teddy? Teddy O'Rourke. No? No, we I got a note from Mr. Slavin. I don't need you just yet. On the Marine Resources Committee was not able to interview tonight due to the agenda not being submitted in time. We'll interview applicant Teddy O'Rourke at the next meeting on December 14th. I thought Mr. O'Rourke was coming tonight to be interviewed by us. No? We'll put this back for the next round. Okay. The Minot Forest Committee. Darrelyn? Duquette?
Mr. Chair, I had a question on this application.
Which one are you?
The Minot Forest Committee. It's actually a procedural question more than anything. I understand that the individual's in the process of moving, but I thought that they had to be either a registered voter or eligible to vote in Wareham in order to serve on a committee.
And your point?
Is that they're registered in another town. Have they actually?
She is registered in the town of Mashpee.
Right.
And has not yet transferred to Wareham.
Okay, but so my question is, has she registered her vehicles here? Is she a permanent resident at this point? I mean, it says that
No.
she's transferring. She's in the process of transferring. So can we hold this application off a month too? Because I don't
Certainly
think
can do that.
that we can. Thank you. No offense to her, by the way. I just want to make sure
And,
we don't.
she's not here for the interview. We could still interview her if she's here. She's not here. Okay. Next up is the review of the earth removal permit by Highland Inc.
You want to introduce yourself and proceed? Thank you.
Good evening. For the record, John Churchill, JC Engineering, representing Highland Inc.
Leonard Bello, attorney in Wareham, Mass. For Mr. Graziano.
Everyone looking at this procedure before us, and do I hear a motion? Questions?
I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
When this was an upcoming agenda item, I had requested the monthly reports and the quarterly reports from the office, and they said that they didn't have any. So I just wonder where those are.
Mr. Churchill?
We actually, when we were advised to come in for the hearing this evening, we were asked for those monthly reports. Graziano's kept the records. They have not been submitted to the town. I have them here. I can, if I may, come forward and submit those.
Were those submitted on a monthly basis?
No, they were not.
Isn't that a condition of the permit?
It's not a condition of the permit. However, the bylaws, if I may, Mr. Chairman, I guess give some history on the project.
Yes, go
ahead. The permit that's currently in place was approved in 2009. It actually was originally approved back in 06. I came for an annual review in 07. 08, we did not come for an annual review. In 2009, we were reissued the permit. In 2010, last year, we came for an annual review. The bylaw changed 3 years ago, somewhere in that vicinity. In the bylaw, as it is written, it's not a condition of the current permit. However, this is the first time we've been asked, and we're more than happy to give the monthly reports to the selectmen. I mean, and going forward, now that we're made aware of this, every month you will have a monthly report submitted to you.
Well, just to elaborate, Mr. Chair. So, as you said, you were here in 2009,
Yes.
and the bylaw changed when?
I believe in 06 or 07.
Uh-huh. Because I'm reading it right here, and it says, records showing the amount of earth removal shall be provided monthly by the permit holder, and quarterly reports certified by a registered professional engineer shall also be submitted to the Board of Selectmen or its designee. And you were here before this was, after this was changed, correct?
I've been here 3 or 4 times after this has been changed.
So I'm certainly not, and my other question is this. It's come to my attention that there's going to be, the DEP is coming in tomorrow. Is that true to this particular site? Is the
DEP come to the site?
Is the DEP doing any kind of walkthrough or inspection?
At this site? Not that I'm aware of.
No.
Okay, first of all, do you have something on a written notice or anything else? Or are you speculating? Or
No, I'm just asking. I was asking a question because I don't know.
Okay, well, okay, he answered. I don't think there is any. Is
Okay.
there anything else?
I guess that's it, other than needing the monthly reports.
Mr.
Thank
Chair.
Mrs. Winslow?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was confused to see this on the agenda because number 13 of the conditions specifically states that subject to review in 1 year. Abutters to be notified of hearing by certified mail by Highland Inc. for all reviews. So my question is this a hearing? Were the abutters notified? And are they were before us last year for the 1 year review. Are they even supposed to be here tonight? And if they are we conducting this in the proper format?
Well, it seems like if the butters were to be notified, it would be an open meeting, a hearing, I should
Correct.
say.
Correct.
I
But
actually had to.
it's not listed on the agenda as a hearing. It doesn't say anything about an annual review. The permit was issued in 2009 with a one-year review in 2010. It's currently 2011 with the permit expiring in 2012. So I just want to make sure that we're doing this appropriately and that the abutters, first of all, we didn't advertise it as a public hearing. That's a problem. Were the abutters notified, Mr. Churchill? They were?
Yeah, we were asked to notify the abutters, but I agree with your interpretation that the one-year review, the permit's subject to a one-year review, which we did last year. I was surprised to see we were getting called in here for this review, actually, and that's why I brought...
The reason that I'm here is, in part, is we don't know why we're being called in here. Somebody is referring to it as if it's an annual review, and that's not what your conditions or bylaw calls for, nor is it historically what you have done on this license. The license was issued in 2006, and at that time I was present and represented the Grazianos.
So when you were here in 2010, what month was it in?
It was around June, I believe, in 2010.
So then it should have been June of this year. June
No.
16th. So what I need to know is, how did it get on the agenda?
Mr. Chair, no. Just to clarify what I'm saying, the way that the license works is it's issued on a 2009 to
2006, and then again in 2009.
So the license was issued in 2009. It's subject to a one-year review, which was in 2010, which the prior board conducted. There's no review in this current year. It's expiring in June of next year, so they would have to come before us again. But even if we were going to conduct a review this year, if we had cause to call them in and conduct a review, it should be advertised as a public hearing.
Okay, so what you were saying is that yearly, it wasn't yearly, it was a year.
One year.
So the year is up, so they're good into
next year.
2012. So
Wow.
are you here for renewal? You don't have to come in until...
We don't have to come back here till June 2012.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Holmes?
Wait.
Mr. Chairman. Yes, Mom. Who asked these people to come in?
Wasn't me.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. Who asked these people to come in?
I'm at odds.
How is it on this agenda? Who put this on the agenda? There's only 5 of us here that have authority, and the only person is you, Mr. Chairman, who can put this on an agenda.
No. I got a call today, just to be funny. Mr. Miles Burke, would you step up and do you have any comment on why it's on the agenda? If not, you don't have to elaborate anything other than that.
I did not place it on the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question besides how it got on the agenda? I'm just curious about something. I agree to the extent of Mrs. Winslow's comments that I think that this should be a hearing, a public hearing, or a hearing in which the abutters have the right to speak. I guess my question is, were you in previously, the last time you were before the Board of Selectmen, was it a public hearing, and were the abutters notified at that point?
I'm not sure if it was a public hearing, but we did notify the butters as well. When I received a fax to my office and a letter stating that we need to come in here for a review and to notify the butters. That's what my instructions are from, I believe, the Selectman's office.
Do you have a copy of that, John?
You do have a copy of the 2010 review, right?
I might be able to, I didn't ask for this to be on the agenda, Mr. Cruz. I asked Shirley in the office, after town meeting, I asked how many earth removal permits were in town. She said 1. And I asked at that time for I don't have the email with me, I asked at that time, because I had looked at the bylaws, for the monthly and quarterly reports. And she said that there were not any on file. However, she did say to me that that Highland Incorporated was due for an annual review. So I don't know if that's where the mix-up was, that she kind of put it on, because, you know, sometimes she puts on, like, alcohol licenses or whatever. But, I mean, and maybe she didn't. But I did ask the question, so I don't know if that's how it ended up on the agenda.
Right, even if it was annual review, we're 5 months out. It's June. They
I
got
understand.
it June 16th. It should have been this past June if it was a yearly. But if it was just 1 year, then they're out of it until they come up again and on 12th or whatever, 60 days before. How often, when you come for your renewal in your license?
Yeah, typically it expires on June 12th of 2000,
Right.
June 12th of
And
2012.
you usually
so
come
we would
in when, in May?
We would file an application for renewal.
Right.
And item number 13 of the conditions state that you're subject to review in 1 year. So that doesn't mean that we're actually even going to have a 1-year review, never mind an annual review. I believe subject to 1 year means, like we did last year, is if the board's requests come before you, and we came before you, regarding the monthly reports, we're definitely not trying to hide anything. I have the reports right here, and going forward, you'll definitely be receiving those. There was a bylaw that came in place after we received that permit.
Well,
So,
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
while I appreciate Mr. Churchill's comments, the bottom line is, Mr. Churchill, is you're not in compliance with the permit. The bylaw was amended 9/9 of '08, and the permit was issued June 16th of 2009. So you had notification that the bylaws were changed, and there has been no submission of these reports. So you might be subject to a review based on
Right.
that.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
If in fact we desire to call them before us in violation of their permit, we have to notify them of that.
Yes, ma'am.
We can't,
Either that or if they had it in review, it's supposed to have been in June of last year and they already had it. We can move forward with this.
But
Make a
again,
motion that they-
Mr. Chairman, again,
Yes.
my question is, was the review properly conducted when they came before the Board of Selectmen? I'd like
Now,
to know
whether it was
that.
properly conducted or not, I think if the board had signed off on it, then that's a done deal. So,
Mr. Chair, we'd have to look at the tape, but I'm pretty certain that we got a copy of the green cards and that the former chair, Mrs. Donahue, did open a hearing for the review, and if there was any public comment, it was only one, and I want to say it was a woman, but I can't specifically remember. But I do believe that we crossed all our I's and dotted all our T's last June. However, we certainly can look back at the tape and, make sure that occurred.
Well, I appreciate your comments, Mrs. Selectman Winslow. Clearly, you didn't cross your T's and dot your I's because we're sitting here and there hasn't been any reports submitted as they were supposed to be under the permit.
Mr. Chair, point of order. We've called
State your point.
We've called these people in for under the auspice of an annual review. If we are going to call them in and allege that they're in violation of a permit, then we must give them proper and due notice.
and
I
not only-
don't believe we can have this discussion at this moment in time.
Right, and not only that, I think it was on our part too to inform them when we didn't get our reports. Someone should have informed them about they need the report. So, is there a motion? We need to end this.
There's no motion from me on this. I think we've already stepped off the range myself.
Yeah, I think since there's no, what I'm going to do is suggest that you bring the reports up to date, give it to the office, and make sure the office, if you're missing any reports coming up, it's their responsibility, just like we send notices out for any other licenses do. If you were supposed to have been yearly, it should have been done. So right now, until you hear from us again, it's a moot point.
Are we excused?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Town Administrator, thank you very much, gentlemen. Town Administrator's report.
Mr. Chairman, through you to the board and the listening audience,
Mr. Holmes. Mr. Holmes, taking my 5 minutes.
I'd like to ask Miles Burke, Director of Inspectional Services, to come up and provide us with an update on a property that, and programs that we've been working on with respect to code issues in town. And Mr. Burke, if you can bring us up to speed on a number of programs, and particularly the one at 2 Sarah Beth Lane.
Thank you, Mr. Administrator, and members of the board. As was stated earlier, I know you have an upcoming hearing regarding Sandwich Road, and that's a perfect example of some of the properties that we are looking at, try to get cleaned up. There has been some movement on several properties from a voluntary basis when we issued what they call a make-safe order, which allows the landlord to either take corrective action on his own with making the property safe and boarding it up, or hopefully, in the case of some of these properties in real disrepair, taking them down entirely. And I think we've seen that both on Rose Point Avenue, on Main Street, with a very large structure coming down. Unfortunately, the fire on Sandwich Road, it still is privately owned. Sometimes these properties get stuck in probate. I know Mr. Ethier took it to the Board of Health route, which generally can get some enforcement action going. But if it gets to the point where nobody is taking the effective action, there is a remedy through the building codes, and that's to conduct a border survey. That is with a fire chief, the Commissioner of Inspectional Services, an engineer, and a disinterested party visiting the site, obviously making a determination that it has no redeeming value, that it's a danger to public safety, and it needs to be taken down. And I think the town council, through Attorney Bowen, has recommended that then they come before this board with the results of that survey, and this board can then authorize public funds to be expended, which would then be leaned against that property after the cleanup and disposal is made. So I think that's the route, in a nutshell, that they're looking to take on the Sandwich Road property. With some of the other zoning violations, my remedy would be to come before this board, as I did back in March, ask for some enforcement power of up to $300 fines is the highest you can go for a non-criminal complaint. We did levy that against Mr. Sergi of 2 Sarah Beth for the issue of commercial vehicles in a Zone 2 aquifer. The board took action. We did start the enforcement action on that. It did have the desired result initially of Mr. Sergi leasing a commercial property. The trucks were moved to a commercial location. We don't want to put somebody out of business. He actually has done work for the town. But then I call it somewhat of a shell game when these trucks aren't appearing once in a while. They're being moved from location to location. There's another location by a relative up in an aquifer that I just received a complaint this week that several of the vehicles were parked up there. So we've continued to send communication to Mr. Sergi. He's been continuing to give us information as far as that the trucks were being sold, that he was just working on them for that day, but they continue to be there. So I will be meeting with Attorney Bowen on Thursday to see if he can potentially lien that property for the fines that are owed, or if it takes a court action to do that.
Mr. Burke,
Yes.
just clear this up. You came before the board. We gave you the authority to enforce those
Yes.
fines. And I thought I just heard you say that corrected the action, and we got the results that we were looking for, correct?
Yes, initially it did.
And then when did that change, Miles?
I believe the end of September, early October. I don't have
Recent.
the exact
It's
date.
recent.
Recently, they came back, and I contacted Mr. Sergi by phone. He did say that he was doing it in order to just repair them for a subsequent sale that week. They have remained on the property, I believe, over 30 days now, so he is still in violation. Obviously, they leave the property in different things. I did check tonight before this meeting. There's currently 5 trucks, a Bobcat, and a couple of plow blades parked on the 2 Sarah Beth location, and maybe 1 or 2 at the Depot Street location.
What do you need from the board, Miles, to put this issue to bed?
I think the board has taken the effective action that it can in allowing us to assess fines for those days. We are going out there as many times as we can to verify it. I have some pictures here I can even share with the board. The police have done kind of reconnaissance trips by there because we do receive complaints from neighbors as the police and the town administrator's office. So we look for some voluntary compliance that we're not getting. I think the time is that we have to assess those fines to the property. He's obviously not agreed to come in and pay them, so I think the next step would be to ask town council to guide us on how Mr. Foster can enact a fine for money owed the town, or at a minimum, I understand that he does work for the town, and usually people that owe fines or taxes, like we have an ordinance in the town, I make every single permit go to the tax office and make sure that they're paid up on their taxes. So if they're not paid up on their taxes, they don't even get to pull a permit to install a shed or a window. So I would think that route would be accessible to us through the ordinances of the town that exist currently, that if he does not want to pay those fines willingly, he will not be allowed to work for the town.
Right.
It doesn't make sense to be paying him money and him owing us money.
All right.
Mr.
Bagley?
Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes. Miles, is there any kind of recourse with, say, environmental police, since it is an environmentally sensitive area? Or is there any way that the police department could impound those vehicles and remove them?
I did talk to the chief earlier today, and he would like to be able to impound them if given the direction by, I think it would have to be from an environmental DEP standpoint, that they need to be towed off the site, if not removed willingly. You were right in saying that the DEP has several issues that they're coming to Wareham tomorrow. We're meeting them at 8 a.m. And one of the things is to make an assessment of any potential violations to the permitting that was issued for the sand removal. But also, while I have them in town, in that vicinity, that was my next step, to try and utilize DEP, because these were salt and sand trucks. They do have regulation for diesel being, run for sometimes hours at a time, and it's very disruptive to the neighborhood. And it's also, they have regulations in the environmental protection now for a time limit on running of diesel fuel for air pollution.
We do want to make sure that we don't turn this into an agenda item. So do you have another?
I guess I didn't realize the DEP could authorize local police authority, but...
Well,
Okay.
we're going to use any tool at our disposal. I did want some guidance, as I told the town administrator today, that private property is sacrosanct in the courts when it comes to taking some real hardline action about taking, even dilapidated properties down. We have to make sure we have all our I's dotted and T's crossed, as has been said tonight, because it is a very important step. And that's why we do look for voluntary compliance. We do look for cooperation from heirs of property or insurance companies, and we work with anybody. We're not out to take private property and dispose of it. We're out to try and clean up the town for the
Thank you,
benefit
Miles.
of the
Could you
neighbors.
just stop for 1 second, okay? I wanted to give Mr. Schneider an opportunity. He had a comment earlier.
I remember this issue very distinctly. I remember this issue coming before the Board of Selectmen maybe a little over a year ago.
The
maybe not.
vehicles.
The vehicles. And I know that there is a whole host of issues with these vehicles up in that area, particularly the salt in the aquifer.
Correct.
And, I remember distinctly the gentleman sitting there begging, pretty much, to allow his vehicles to stay there through the end of plow season. And now here we are approaching plow season again, and the vehicles are appearing. So I think whatever action we need to take whatever action we need to take to enforce the bylaw and the order of the Board of Selectmen, Miles. This can't continue.
Thank you. And I'd like to give Mrs. Winslow, she had her hand up as well, Miles, for a comment.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that town council draft a letter to Mr. Sergi advising him that the town intends at this point to fine him every single day that those vehicles are on that property, and that it will seek any and all means, including leaning his property, denying him work for the town based on this under our bylaw, until such time as he removes those vehicles and pays his fines. This issue has gone on and on and on. And there's absolutely no more excuses for this. He came before us with his little children, and he said he just needed a little time. I think he even said maybe up to 30 days. He had to find a place to put these vehicles and house these vehicles, and he has not done that. And now those vehicles are back as we're heading into snow season, and he's going to be back here in a month or 2 months telling us that he's got nowhere to put the vehicles. He doesn't.
Mrs. Winslow, you have a motion.
Yes. I'm waiting for a second.
We don't have a second at this point.
I'll second.
Mr. Cruz is second now for discussion. And this is on, the motion is clear. I think it's what Miles was asking for originally, was he was working with Mr. Andrews to send a letter to town council to find out what the board's next step should be. Is that correct? That's why you're sitting there.
Definitive fine action in court.
Mrs. Begley.
Thank you. I agree with the sentiment of Selectman Winslow's motion, but I don't think that we need to describe the language of the letter. I think that we could certainly have a motion that could authorize Mr. Burke, town administrator, to pursue this with town council.
Well, Mr. Chair, I think it's important that this individual understand that this is not going to be tolerated, because otherwise we're going to be sitting here in April with those trucks still on that property.
Mr. Cruz?
Yes, I think any decision we make, and I know Mr. Burke will do the right thing, and Mr. Andrews, we'll get in touch with our attorney. So we're not going to jump the gun and just do it on hearsay. So with that, I think this motion should cover it. Thank you.
Whoa, Mr. Chairman. We have a motion made and seconded. Did we withdraw that second on the detail to just authorize the access to town council? There's a lot of detail there that was at the end of that motion. I think a nice clean motion would be better if we, Mr. Cruz, if you would withdraw your second.
I withdraw my second.
Mrs. Winslow, will you amend your first?
Well, I'll amend my motion. However, before I do that, the point of my motion is that I want a written letter from our lawyer going to this individual describing the steps that we intend to take if he does not fix this problem immediately.
Right. Excuse me. Mr. Burke's recommendation to the board is that we authorize town council to inform this board of what our authority is to correct this action. Not to the individual, but to this board, just as we did a year ago, maybe.
But that's my point, Mr. Holmes, is that a year ago we went through that process and it got resolved for apparently the summer months. So my point is that it's time for us to take a very strong stand with this individual and do whatever we need to do and let town council tell us.
Mrs. Winslow, but to Mr. Burke's point, that's what he's here to accomplish. So if we can just, if you want to make a motion of any kind, the motion should be to allow Miles to encourage Miles to continue the process and get what the direction is from town council for the Board of Selectmen to allow him to enforce. We are the enforcers.
We already gave him that last year.
Yeah, but he's got a different set of plans, and he's looking for a more permanent solution, not a daily fine. He wants to take this to the next level. Is that not correct, Miles? Mr. Cruz?
Yes, Mr. Holmes. I don't think he has to come back. Once he goes to the lawyer, and with the lawyer and town administrator. I don't think you have to come back to us because we're already in consensus.
You've already
to something.
authorized
Right.
what you
So
can
as long as we make sure that we're covering our bases and go to the lawyer, I think that'll be the proper way to go, and I'm all for it myself.
Okay, so the motion then is to support Mr. Burke in his actions with town council to enforce this issue.
Yes.
Is that correct?
I don't think there is any motion, Mr.
Okay.
Holmes. I'm talking about something entirely different, so.
Want to make a motion or no? Go ahead, Mr. Paul.
Mr. Chairman, through you, I think the idea here was to convey the climate that Mr. Burke and his team is working with out there to get enforcement. We've talked with the chief about forming a new program. We're looking for the board to be updated on that program, which will be an assigned officer to an enforcement team, including Mr. Burke and Mr. Ethier. And the idea here was to do allow him, you were correct, Steve, if I could say that, to allow him to get to the next level, because we intend to make the point that we're out there working very hard, spending valuable energy to enforce, and we get enforcement, and then a month or two goes by, to Member Winslow's point, and then we get out of enforcement, and then we have to expend twice as much energy to get back out there again to start this process all over again. I think the neighborhood certainly, and I know this board stands behind Mr. Burke and his efforts, just to be able to give him the letter of support in any form to work with town council to come up with the appropriate means, whether that be a letter or some form of court action. We are very serious about this. The chief and I have spent a lot of time, Mr. Burke and Mr. Ethier, and I just wanted to bring the board up to speed because it is on the leadership team, and that's what we are certainly putting in place is leadership.
Very well. Thank you, Mr. Andrews. Mr. Schneider, you have a comment?
Selectman Holmes, would you mind repeating your proposed motion?
I can't make a motion. I was just trying to summarize Mrs. Winslow's motion was to authorize Mr. Burke to continue to work with town council to bring to the Board of Selectmen a definitive answer to this problem and let us know what our alternatives are.
So moved.
I can't make a motion.
No, he said so moved. He made the motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion?
Yes, I'm still going to discuss it again because he has to go to the lawyer and come back to us. He should go to the lawyer, and with the town administrator, it doesn't have to come back to us anymore. We agree at it. The motion should be for him to seek advice of the attorney, collaborated with town administrator or whoever else, and enforce it.
Mr. Chairman, that's exactly what the motion is.
That's the motion.
The motion is for him to come back to us
No,
first.
only if necessary, Mr. Cruz.
It didn't sound like that.
There are certain aspects of the enforcement that do have to come through this board and not through Mr. Andrews' office.
Well, we already
like
gave
the
you-
fine, right?
We already gave the okay. While we're doing this, we're giving
That's
them
correct,
the
but
okay.
there may be other issues that town council presents that this board has to enact, and that's all we're asking them to do. Okay?
I think they're astute enough to come back with us if anything above and beyond.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? I would just make one comment, Mr. Burke, and the town administrator can listen to this. If an individual owes state or federal tax or anything of that nature, and there's a refund due or a payment due, they don't get it until that bill's paid. So maybe, Mr. Andrews, you can put that one in your back pocket. It's a free tidbit this evening for you. Mr. Cruz, I'll return you back to the town administrator's report.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
Mr.
Chairman. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Burke. Appreciate your efforts. Second item, I just wanted to list in my town administrator's report an update. I want to thank very much the efforts of Mr. Jim Newman, Mr. Bob White, Ms. Sharon Boyer, and Mr. John Wagner for their leadership in working on the Veterans Day activities. Everybody that was there, I think, enjoyed a very fine day and certainly a great lunch afterwards. And we will be having, Mr. Chairman, a separate dedication for the fine boards in the foyer of Town Hall. If you haven't noticed, Town Hall is getting cleaner and cleaner by the minute. We have new boards up. I want to thank Mr. Gifford, Mr. Bergamasco, Frank Bergamasco, Mr. Joe Edwards, who was battling through the entire process to make certain we get those boards up and got them right. I also want to thank Chairman Cruz for pointing out a number of key points and making sure the boards were accurate, and other members of the audience that attended the day. And it's something that we can all be proud for going forward.
Yeah, and I have one comment on that. The board doesn't look good. Any veterans that are listed from the town of Wareham need to look at the board. If their name is not on it, you can get in touch with Frank Pagan Master and make sure that your name or any family members that enlisted from the town of Wareham should be on that board. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, on item C, I want to advise the board that there's a new state grant called the Community Innovation Challenge Grant. It's a $4 million program that was unveiled by the Lieutenant Governor, Tim Murray, and Secretary of Administration and Finance, Jay Gonzalez. These are exactly what I think the board was talking about earlier. There's a short fuse on this grant, but it's a regional competition for $4 million. My understanding is that communities can vie for up to $500,000 to $600,000 if they are working to collaborate or to regionalize and gain efficiencies. I listed the entire eligible amounts for regional, for municipalities, regional schools, school districts, consulting with regional school districts for regionalizing services, and planning agencies and councils of government. And I am engaging the leadership team at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning to find out what their thoughts are. I'd appreciate your thoughts. I've already heard from a couple members of the board on trying to access these funds, as every dollar would be well spent in the town of Wareham. On item D, which is a great segue in, last Wednesday, I met with my regional town administrators and town managers to share some of those ideas, and we talked about issues regarding health care, regional grants, funding for fiscal 2013, for planned efficiencies going forward in fiscal 2013, and we heard from a noted CAPE expert with regards to expansion of CAPE broadband and other types of connectivity, if you will, on the Cape, something called Open Cape. I'm not sure if it can work. I've asked Matt Underhill to evaluate it for me, provide me with recommendations, and I'll keep you posted on those that type of program. On safety issues at the DECUS, which are ongoing, as you know, we had the crosswalks done, and we are looking at some other safety areas, and working with Chairman Cruz and the entire board. We're working obviously for cooperation and update. The school committee superintendent and his business office staff, including Anna Miranda, will be joining us at leadership team tomorrow to study ways we can become better at identifying ways to bring efficiencies through workers' compensation issues. That presentation will be at 10 o'clock and will be provided at no cost to the town through our insurance provider, Meyer, through the Mass Municipal Association. Town Hall virtualization is moving forward. I want to thank Matt and the entire team for working on cabling issues, licensing issues, and a number of key aspects. Each week we recap on that project, and it is moving forward. I'll keep the board posted on progress. And that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Town business, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Chairman, three I'd like to ask Mr. Slavin. Alan? Okay, I still have the wrong Thursday, right? Or is it this Thursday? A leg. Oh, tomorrow. Well, thanks for coming in tonight. I appreciate it. Mr. Chairman, a few weeks ago, we talked about Treaty Mountain Nail Committee. Mr. Slavin had handed out some packets. In terms of the makeup and number of the committee, and we still don't have a quorum. We don't know if it's 6, 7, 8, 10 members. Really, we don't, with all due respect to the gentleman, we don't have a real CEDAR director, which is coming up next. But he doesn't attend any of the meetings. We don't know if he's supposed to attend the meetings, if it's okay to have somebody from CEDAR attend the meetings. It's another body that's missing on the board. I'll let Mr. Slavin speak as the chairman, but I'd really like to get this resolved tonight. We've had this hanging out here now for 3 or 4 weeks. So, Mr. Slavin, if you would.
Thank you. Back in 2004, the Tremont Nail Master Plan Committee was formed. It was formed originally with 7 members, and actually we had 2 selectmen as part of that committee originally, which was quite unusual. We had a planning town administrator, as what's worded in the town documents, which really should be a planning board and the town administrator. The town administrator was not voting. We had a historic district commission member, historical commission member, EDIC, that's how far back it goes, which is now CETA. And what happened over a short period of time is, because when CETA was formed, I think Marilyn Wally was in place, there was a shortage of members on the CETA board. And as best as I could pull with paperwork is that Marilyn decided that the CETA director herself would act as a representative for CETA, because there wasn't enough members available to do it easily. And that's how that came about. But in 2006, when the Board of Selectmen decided to add 3 at-large members, there was discussion about possibly eliminating 1 or 2 of the selectmen. Nothing was done officially, so in theory, we have possibly 10 members. You can't have a board with 10 members because you have a deadlock vote. If we take the 2 selectmen out, which really disappeared at that time, you have 8 members technically, which also isn't any good. What we have right now is we have a member from the Wareham Historic Commission. We have a member from the Wareham Historic District Commission. We have a member of the Wareham Village Association. I checked with Jean Connaughton from CETA, and she has no problem with one of her members coming, or the CETA director, whichever the board decides they'd like to do. And then you have I think 3 at-large members, which we have right in place now. So that should give you 7, which is what it really should have been, because the committee was originally set up as 7. And then there was, again, just some confusion. It didn't follow through paperwork-wise.
And Mr. Slavin, one of those members that you just mentioned, and I did print off that email, the Wareham Village Association, and what was the thought process behind that?
I can't answer that, Steve. Unfortunately, I wasn't
They're
around.
not an appointed board by the town.
No, it's just, I guess they felt that the Wareham Village Association would have synergies with the Tremont Nail because of the downtown projects and stuff. So they actually assigned a Wareham Village Association member. And that's up to the Village Association to basically bring someone forward. It's very much like taking someone off the other boards, even though that particular group is not part of the town officially.
Now, is that Tremont Nail, is that in the charter or is that in the bylaws?
No, that is a committee put together by the Board of Selectmen. So you can very simply, by policy, you can change and fix whatever you have to do. It's not in the charter, and it's not in the bylaws.
I thought I read something where it's the same thing that you read. What is that from?
That is what was originally put together back in June 25th, 2005, and you have a copy. That's what's sitting in the actual book that Shirley and Janet have on the desk.
So right now with CETA, you do have 7 members, so you have no problem.
Well, but this doesn't include 3 at-large members. So this, if you add the 3 at-large, you got 10 members. See, this never got
But
fixed.
you said if you don't have the selectmen on it.
Or the planning board member also.
Right.
All it is I think all it is the Board of Selectmen just needs to basically vote to reestablish what the membership should
But
be.
even
That's
if you
it.
call for 10 members and you have 7, you have a quorum.
Well, we're not arguing the quorum. We didn't know whether or not, we thought we only had 7 originally, but it looks as if we could have 10. So if we have 10, we have to have 6 members show up in order to have a meeting.
Right, so if you got 7 now and you have a thing, until we get it straightened out, you can still keep having your meetings.
It's difficult for me to get, 6 members out of 7 to show all the time. That's all I'm trying to get
Okay,
at.
so why don't we go with the 7 you have until we decide what we're going to do on that, whether we're going to have the plan. Mr. Bigley.
You get to speak first this time, Mr. Chair.
What was that?
You get to speak first this time. This is the appointing authority, correct, for the Tremont Nail Committee?
The Tremont Nail was basically put together as a policy board by the Board of Selectmen, which they can
So
sunset
this is
at
the
any time.
appointing authority?
Absolutely.
Okay. So originally it was called the Tremont Master Plan Committee, or is that the current
The name has always
language?
been the Tremont Nail Master Plan Committee. It was put together after the town bought the Tremont Nail property. It was put together by the Board of Selectmen at that time.
Yeah, it was an expensive purchase, but...
Town voted unanimously, unfortunately.
So as this board can certainly determine who will sit on this committee and definitely have a quorum, correct?
That's correct.
Absolutely.
That's correct. So...
I'm asking for that tonight, by
Right,
the way. because
exactly.
keep
So
this
just to kick it around, so we'd have a member of the planning board, a member of CETA.
We do not have a member of the planning board technically right now.
I'm kind of
Go ahead.
formulating the
Okay.
board.
Go ahead.
So a member of the planning board, a member of CETA. the Historic Commission and District. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Is there a reason for both?
Each one has a different authority as far as when they all look at the historical district. Even though Tremont Nail officially is not in the historic district has authorization over the external things on the building in the historic district. The Historical Commission has other jurisdictions, as we do with the demolition law, etc. Each one has their own area of expertise to work with.
So the short answer is yes, we need both.
It was set up originally that way, and I think that's the correct way, yes.
So right there is 4 members. So if we had those 4 members and 3 citizens at large, it would be a board of 7, and a board of selectmen would be a liaison, which would be a non-voting member. So that way, a quorum would simply be 4. Correct?
Correct. That means you eliminate the village association member.
Which I think certainly a Wareham Village Association member would be welcome to attend, but it's not a requirement for a voting member, in my opinion. So I would like to make a motion.
Could I make one change? I'm sorry to interrupt. This originally also had the town administrator as a non-voting member. And when we talked about this committee probably a year ago, Mark had suggested that they wanted to put a group together. And I think having the town administrator there, because this is a town-owned piece of property, is quite helpful as well, even though he's non-voting.
Okay.
Thank you.
I wasn't finished yet, Mr. Cruz.
Okay, excuse me. Go ahead.
If I could just finish the thought, Mr. Slavin. So if I had a member of a 7-member board, so that would be a quorum of 4. What time of, did you say it was the third Thursday in the evening?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
Because certainly the town administrator is attending FinCom on Wednesday, working full-time, 40 hours, attending FinCom on Wednesday evenings, this Board of Selectmen on Tuesday evenings. I'm just saying, this would be another meeting.
Send a representative.
Right, so it would be helpful if the town administrator could send a representative, perhaps, or it would be helpful if he received the agendas and minutes, particularly the agendas, so that if it looked like something he particularly would wish to attend, that would be helpful.
It is opposed to me, so the agenda is posted.
Correct, but sometimes it's easier to receive it just by email, and certainly receiving minutes would be helpful as well.
And he would be on the list on the distribution list for the...
Has been right along.
Correct. So if this board would indulge me, I'd like to make a motion.
Before you make your motion, what were the other, you mentioned 4, Planning, Cedar.
Historic Commission and Historic District.
Now, what was the other 2? Wareham Village?
No. Wareham Village, I wouldn't have as a voting member.
No, this is not what you would have. What was on
What
it?
they did have.
What they did
They
have.
did have Historic Commission, Historic District, Planning, CETA, Wareham Village Association, and they had a selectman or 2.
I thought you named another organization between
No,
Wareham
I didn't write
Village.
one down, but it was a 10-member board, which is weirdly, definitely, it would be difficult sometimes to get
So
get a
why don't
quorum.
you just make a thing, you can cut down the... 'cause you
Right,
haven't
that's
made a
exactly
motion
what I
yet.
was doing, Mr. Cruz, is
Right.
making a motion. So I move that the Tremont Master Plan Committee consists of 1 member appointed by and from the Planning Board, 1 member appointed by and from CETA, 1 member appointed by and from the Historic Commission, 1 member appointed from and by the Historic District, 3 citizens at large.
Second.
So those would be voting members, and certainly we could have the Board of Selectmen liaison and the town administrator at will.
Okay, for discussion.
I seconded.
Yeah, Kara seconded. Ellen made a motion. Okay, for discussion. The Wareham Village. Why don't we include them and just have 2 citizens at large? Why do you need 3 citizens at large?
I
Yeah,
don't
they could be-
understand why we need the Wareham Village Association at all, Mr. Cruz. They certainly can attend, and I'm certain that the committee would value their input, but I don't understand why that it would be a requirement.
Well, that's with all committees. Anybody can attend.
They
But
are. Mr. Chair,
But
I
they had
thought he was looking this way.
Right, no, not yet. I have the floor, please.
Oh, no,
Thank
I
you.
know you do.
Hey. Or do I have to hit it somewhere else? But in other words, they had this plan years ago, before we even got here. Now we're changing it. Right. They had 10, so they say. And you had 2 selectmen. So you can either go 10, 11, or whatever, but if the Wareham Village, that's all part of Wareham, Tremont now, so. But anyway, that's my take on that. I think we should have that in 2.
Excuse me, Walter, just if you mind. If you eliminate one of the at-large members, I think because they're already appointed for a term, I'm not sure, can you eliminate them before their term is up?
How many at-large members do you have now?
3.
Oh, that's fine. Well, Mrs. Begley's motion
Well, Walter
handles
was
3.
talking 2, that's all.
Well, the motion on the floor is for 3.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, my comment is under discussion is that every person that Mrs. Begley mentions in her motion were appointed by this Board of Selectmen, with the exception of planning, right?
Correct.
By the other authority. These are all appointed boards and commissions. The Wareham Village Association is not an appointed board or commission. If any of their members want to attend, they're welcome to attend. They're welcome to join as a member at large. But with an important project like this that's town-owned and town-funded, I think that board should only have town-appointed board members on it. It's my opinion. Thank you.
And if you appoint it, he's the town appointed. Anyways, go ahead.
I think that I just want to be clear that the 3 citizens at large will be just that. They will not be a member of the Planning, CETA, Historic, or Historic District. 3 citizens at large will not have the other affiliations. I'll add that to my motion if need be.
And I'll follow up with a second on that.
That sounds familiar. It's all coming back, ladies and gentlemen.
Mr. Chair, I have a question. Well, Mr. Holmes said what I was going to say about anybody can apply for the at-large positions, but do we have a right to say, I mean, let's say, for example, Angela from the Historic Commission is not the Historic Commission representative and she's the only applicant for an at-large position. Are we going to tell her she can't serve on the board?
Well, yes, I think the motion said you can't have but one.
And we're going to make up that restriction specifically for this board? No? But how can we do that?
Well, I think about a year and a half ago, someone did make a motion about board members being on more than 1 or 2.
Well, we did, and what we just...
Right. No, it isn't. Okay.
Oh, well, then I apologize. I thought that it was a really good motion, but we have a very small pool of people who are willing to volunteer their time, and I don't want to start saying no to people, especially people that are dedicated. So I'm not going to be able to support the motion.
Any other
do it.
questions? If not, the motion was, you want to repeat that again? Alan?
I move that the Board of Selectmen appoint a committee for the Tremont Master Plan. The Tremont Master Plan Committee shall consist of a member of the Planning Board from and by the Planning Board, a member of CETA from and by that board, Historic Commission from and by that board, Historic District from and by that board, and 3 citizens at large. The 3 citizens at large shall not serve on the aforementioned boards.
Second. Again. Just to make sure.
Motion made and second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
3-2.
4-1.
No.
No, Mr.
I'm
President
opposed.
myself.
Oh, you were against?
Thank you very much, Alan.
We have a little problem, just so you understand. Jim Newman is one member. He's on I believe he chairs the committee or whatever that he's on with the veterans. Obviously, I'm the chairman of this committee, so therefore I would have to resign as well.
Why would Jim Newman have to resign? He's not on the aforementioned boards, is he? Historic?
No, but,
District Commission? No, that's what
all right. Well, I'm on the planning board, so therefore I would have to resign. No, I'm the at-large member.
So there's an additional member of the planning board on that committee?
There hasn't been a planning board member for 4 or 5 years.
But you,
because
why wouldn't you be the planning board member, Alan? From the planning board?
That's up to the planning board.
I see.
I'm just saying I have to resign as an at-large member, though. No. I have no problem, just saying that.
Good luck tomorrow.
Don't need luck.
No.
Thank you. I'm
Just need-
sorry this has taken so long to get straightened out.
Thank you very much.
If you can
We appreciate it.
send a letter off just so it's clear, and I'll send a letter to the Village
Yeah,
Association.
the office will type up a new board sheet, et cetera, et cetera.
That'd be great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, next on the agenda, I have to move very quickly. Several weeks ago, we brought up the CETA director, and the answer was that I agreed to wait sometime until January to post this position. Janet had corrected the record. Listen, I want to get this posted as quickly as possible and get the RFP out for a permanent CETA director in the town of Wareham. We're sitting here now at the end of November. Nothing. Even the CETA board, for the best, and I don't want to make a mistake again, but I mean, even that. I mean, we got the job description back. We're still sitting here. We have no CETA director. This gentleman who's here, granted, he's managing the grant as he says he is, and so, but that's it. That's all we're getting out of this. And his contract is soon to come up again. And here we go again. We're going to renew that, and we still don't have a CETA director. So I really want to make a motion here as the folks responsible for CETA to get this position posted and an RFP sent out for a new CETA director in Wareham.
Mr. Town Administrator.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, that was in the form of a motion.
No, it wasn't. It didn't sound like a
I
motion.
just made a motion.
It sounded like a motion to me.
Did? Okay, go ahead.
I'll
Nate.
second the motion.
Thank you.
State the motion.
The motion was to put out an RFP and post the position for a CETA director in the town of Wareham.
Made by Mr. Holmes, second by Mr. Snyder.
Mr. Chair,
Any other discussion?
just a,
Mrs. Winslow?
just a correction. It's a job posting, not an RFP.
I take that back.
Just can,
Mr. Schneider,
I
would
just
you
want to make
take
sure
that back,
that
please?
I will withdraw my motion.
I would make a motion to post the job of CETA director for the town of Wareham, Massachusetts.
Second.
Motion made and second. Mrs. Winslow? Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 5-0-0.
Next up is also something I asked you to put on the agenda. I make a motion that on December the 6th, I make a motion that we have a combined meeting of the Finance Committee and the Board of Selectmen, and we have Mr. Representative from the firm of Powers and Sullivan to be here, and nothing else on the agenda for Tuesday, December the 12th. Is that a Tuesday?
that's a Monday.
Okay, then December the 13th on Tuesday, with nothing else on the agenda but our finances, the Board of Selectmen, Town Administrator, the Finance Committee, and a representative from Powers and Sullivan.
So on that date, you're saying that's the only thing that's going to be on the agenda,
That's correct.
13th?
I don't want to give 30 minutes to this. This is an
Well, we need to
important
check,
issue.
too. I think on one of them days, it's the busiest day of the year that we have. I'll check with Shirley to make sure she has all done.
We have to do all the
That's right,
renewals.
that's right. We have the liquor licenses. I make a motion.
The only other day-
I amend my motion because nobody seconded it yet to make it on Wednesday the
Oh, Wednesday,
14th.
I was going to say, if you have it on the Finance Committee meeting date,
Second,
second by,
And that to be held here in this room.
on TV.
We'll have it here in this room, and inform WCTV that we're having a meeting that night.
And we'd
Because they
like it
have to.
taped.
They have to televise our meetings. They do.
And tomorrow at the FinCom, if someone would mention it to the chairman, unless we send him send him a memo. Motion made and second.
Oh.
Yeah, motion made and second. No other discussion, all in favor?
Aye. Mr. Chairman, next is another issue I put on the agenda. As in my, I have no problem jumping on a sword when I make a mistake. In terms of intentionally lying to people, I don't do that. Last week, and I apologize to Mrs. Slavin a little bit, and I didn't do it earlier because I waited till it's on the agenda. I did get a little testy, and I shouldn't have done that, and I apologize to you, Sandy. And also, the question was in regards to sewer commissioners. Now, I received a letter here from the town clerk. Yes, and I did go by and ask her about this, and I reasonably thought that she said it was upstairs in our office to deal with. So I obviously assumed, and I shouldn't have assumed because you know what happens then, that we were ready to have an election in April for sewer commissioners. I mean, it's only been, what, a year?
Little more.
I mean, how long does it take to put a few names on the ballot? I guess it's more than that. But I would, through you, to Mr. Andrews, the town clerk did say that she spoke to Mr. Andrews, who stated he communicated with Senator Pacheco's office on the Monday before your meeting, and that the Senate council was having issues with the legal language of the article. So I would apologize to the town clerk profusely. I would apologize to the citizens for making an error. And I would ask through you, Mr. Chairman, if Mr. Andrews could enlighten us with this information on where we stand today on the sewer commissioner's election.
Mr. Chairman, through you to the board and listening audience, if you look at your packet, you will find emails that span back to after the requisite time by which we have to wait for the article to come back. That timeline has been adopted, and the office did send in the request for legislative relief under this article to both, by the way, so we're clear about this, to both of the House and the Senate. You can start in either branch, and that's fine, but both offices were up to date as to what was happening with this. Back in 1938, I won't bore you with all the details, we elected a board of... I know, I'm going quick. Member Holmes.
I wasn't asking for that kind of detail, Mr. Chairman.
And look who's talking about rushing somebody. Thank you.
Just real quick, in 1938, we did adopt a special act of the legislature that provided for a member board of sewer commissioners. We then, in 1978, elected a board of selectmen who became both the selectmen and sewer commissioners. And if my history serves me correctly, in November of 2010, we elected to go back to a separate board of sewer commissioners. So it's like a three-layered cake. And in my legislative experience, when you look at something like this, where you have overlapping legislative issues, we want to make sure that we get this right coming out of the box. Because in my work with both Town Council and Senate Council on this matter through Senator Pacheco's office, and in concert with Representative Gifford's office, there has been a great deal of angst of how to get this right without having some form of a change that we cannot make to the article to pass town meeting. So, which is, once again, not all that complex, but it's a three-layered cake. So I did talk with Senator Pacheco, and I don't know how this information gets out there, but he was contacted by the media about this matter. I would suggest that we work as a board and administration to work out these details. I know Town Council, Mr. Attorney Bowen, has made some suggestions of language that will come through Senate Council. I'll keep the board posted. If you want to keep this on the agenda, Mr. Chairman, for next week, I'm happy to keep it on. We'll just keep talking about it.
I would just recommend that Mr. Andrews put it on his weekly, since it's in his court at this point, I would just recommend that he put it on his weekly administrator's report as ongoing. But,
Chairman,
but
if I
at
could-
this point in time, through you, we are not looking, you don't really see an election in April, correct? Unlikely.
It's a difficult period of
They're
time.
recessing tomorrow night, right?
Yes.
So they're going
It's a
till the
biennial.
end of November,
It doesn't
December.
stop them, by unanimous consent, if I could just make this one statement, they can't take up home rule petitions that just affect a city or town and are not complicated. That's a question that the Senate Council, House Council is going to have to figure out as this legislation comes forward. But you are correct, Member Holmes, that the legislature, by rule, will be going into recess unless they have unanimous consent to move on a piece of legislation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't mind carrying on my report, but we share a responsibility here. I just want to make sure the board understands that, because it's the board that acted and had sent the legislation through after town meeting, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Holmes, any town business? Any other town business?
What was that again?
Mr.
Mr. Holmes?
If the board had what?
I didn't say.
No, Mr. Andrews, that last comment about if the board had what?
I said through you, Mr. Chairman, we share a responsibility here, because this is an article that passed at town meeting, and it's a joint responsibility from where I sit. And I'm happy to put it on my report and keep the board updated with respect to working with town council and Senate council. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other town business?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
We had 2 items in our packet that I think we we can address under any other town business. The first is a request from Gateway Gold and Pawn to change their junk dealer's license due to the fire in the building that occurred on November 2nd. I do believe that even though the circumstances are obviously not their fault, they still do need to come in order to do that. Maybe Mr. Andrews could double check that for us, but I'm confident that any change does need to come back before the board. So if we could get that on an upcoming agenda.
Right, and how soon do they need this? When are they?
Well, they're not at their location any longer because of the fire.
Right, it's
So
next door.
we need to do it as soon as possible.
That's what I'm asking. Are they in there? Are they planning to move before we can have another meeting?
They're already moved.
Are they doing business?
I drove down there the other day and I saw open, so. Yeah,
Yeah,
if we can just check into it and get it dealt with as quickly as, if they don't need to come in, then that's, but we're still going to have to vote on it, I believe. But I do think they have to come in. That was the first one. And the second one is we have a letter from the Board of Assessors informing us of the resignation of Mary Ann Morse. She's retiring, moving out of town, probably going to a nice warm climate. I'm pretty jealous. But they're going to have a vacancy, and they're asking us for the posting and filling of the vacancy. That position is elected, so I would also ask that Mr. Andrews investigate the proper way to go about filling that position and put that on an upcoming agenda so that we can deal with that matter. Neither of these are listed on the agenda. I'm just bringing them to your attention to be dealt with on a future agenda. We may have the ability to fill. Sometimes I didn't bring the charter tonight, so. But if you wouldn't mind doing that for me, Mr. Chair, I'd appreciate it.
Mr. Smatter? Mr. Begley?
Yes, I do, Mr. Chair. This board received a letter from a business in town, and an email. And the email was dated October 26th, actually. And it was a notification from Captain Al's Restaurant and Tiki Bar. We will be closed for the purpose of renovating and cleaning from October 11th, so this was 2 weeks later, through March 20th, 2012. And I kind of researched this, and they're supposed to ask for this board's permission to do so, not inform us. So I think I would like to ask this board to, or you, Mr. Chair, to put this on the agenda for a status review. The other question I have, and this may segue into a public hearing, is I seem to recall that last year they had a lengthy closing. And if they have a year-round liquor license...
They only had a seasonal last year.
They have a seasonal last year?
Yeah,
And they have a year-round this year.
Right, they were one of the ones that got the year-rounds when they got
Well,
approved.
this is nearly the period of time that they would be closed with a seasonal liquor license. But I also asked Chief Stanley if he was aware. I asked through, of course, Mr. Andrews, and the police department was unaware that this business was closed. So I think that this board should have a status hearing.
Mr. Andrews, you want to check on that, please? Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, along those lines, there was some communication back and forth about the change in manager at one of the Crossing restaurants a few months back. Was that ever resolved? Because there was an issue. Zen, did that get resolved? Because the last I saw, there was a problem on the state level. We should make sure of that, because...
Do you recall what business it was?
Yes, I just told Mr. Andrews.
I didn't copy the email, Mr. Chair, but there was also a notification of change of managers in our email this evening.
For Red
And
Robin.
Again, I don't recall if
Right, I
Mr.
think
Andrews
one
could
came
look
in
into
tonight,
that
that's why.
and put that on. Was it Red Robin?
Red Robin, okay.
Red Robin, yeah. They're going to have to get on an agenda and come in order to do that.
Yes. I don't.
I think it's next Tuesday night.
One other thing, Mr. Cruz, and then I'm done with town business, and I will talk fast. I did email Chief Stanley, and I copied Mr. Andrews, because when we discussed the Cranberry Highway project with Mass DOT, I agreed with Mrs. Winslow with how dangerous the road is currently. And I know that it had been mentioned that cars travel 45 to 50 miles per hour. So I asked the chief what the speed limit was on that road, because it's really not well posted. So I'll read his response into the record. He said the speed limit is 35 miles per hour in that area. 35. We conduct many radar selective enforcements in the area as well, and he can document how many, just how many if needed. The road is up for major overhaul, and he's sure the signage will be a big part of it. He's going to be coming before the Board of Selectmen at some time in the future, because they're starting a traffic team and a new program which is the development stage for enforcement, engineering, and education. So I was reassured that this is definitely on the top level of the projects for the Wareham Police Department.
Thank you. Mr. Holmes? You already hear from sewer? Anything from sewer?
Mr. Chair.
Commissioners? Mrs. Holmes? I mean, Mrs. Holmes.
Mrs. Holmes.
Yeah. Thanks, Ma. Walter's talking to you.
Must be that time. Mrs. Winslow?
It's getting close to that time. I just wanted to check with Mr. Campina, since he's in the room. We do have this letter from the AD Makepeace Company dated November 7th about them making the improvements to the Springborn pump station. We don't have to take any action on that, correct? It's just informational. Okay, then that's all.
Just a question, Mr. Chairman. When are we going to put a discussion of Contract 3 back on the table? At what point?
Well, it's on the table until it comes off the table. It'll stay on the table. No, you didn't. I think you had Contract 3 for the payment.
I thought it was an agenda item tonight. I don't ask me.
So what you need to do, if you want Contract 3, is to make a motion by the board, to bring it back off the table, because it's on the table, and then we have to vote on it. Well, if you're going to discuss it, you can't take it off. It's still on the table. Yeah, we'll do it till next, we'll put it off till next week. So somebody,
Liaison.
Liaison, go ahead. You got one?
I just want to state that the issue on the conservation, forget about it. He's not bothering with any public hearing or any of that. He's just going to resign.
I'm lost, but anyway.
The gentleman, in reference to last week, Mr. Schneider brought up, gone.
Thank you.
He's not going to go through that.
Any other liaison?
I just wanted to quickly say that today was National Recycle Day, and unfortunately I ran late, so I missed it. It was closed by the time I got there, but I do hope that they got a good turnout. Recycling is really, really important. So,
Mr. Chairman, I just want to say to the person, wherever you are, my son, Sean, wrote down your license plate number, and we'll be calling Chief Stanley tomorrow. To the person who was driving down Onset Avenue in that white car, older gentleman in the passenger seat, whipping that cup out the window with whatever fluid you had in it with a child in the back seat, you are being reported tomorrow, my friend. Mrs. Winslow has talked about that car in front of Stop and Shop for weeks. Well, we got you today because, it was just unbelievable. Driving down Onset Avenue just as you come past Depot, and that guy whipped that thing right out the window like it was nothing. And there was a kid, and there was Sean writing down the license plate number, and he's giving it to the chief tomorrow.
I have it too. I wonder if it's the same.
He wants to know how much the fine was.
Any motions?
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Can we ask one question? Because we don't come to these much, and I think we missed out here along the road. Because me and my husband came to talk about the sewer, about this, this halted sewer project. Because they said you were gonna discuss it tonight. We sat here the whole night because we thought it was gonna be at the end. We were told by a selectman it was gonna be talked about at the end, or I would have got up in the the citizens' participation part. It doesn't matter, but I mean, it said it was being discussed tonight. That's what
Contract 3.
Oh, they were
Talking about contract 3.
The payment of that bill, I think.
If it's contract 3, we're gonna put it on the table.
Talking about
Contract 3, is that what you're saying?
exactly.
See, me and my husband don't know. We just live on Rose Point.
So when is it going to be?
Well, it's gonna be brought up next week to have a motion to bring it back up, but it'll probably be a couple weeks before it's ever. But if you're on Rose Point, you don't have anything to do with it.
I know, and I should have said, we just don't know.
Right.
We don't do this often.
And like I said earlier, a lot of times if there's a question on his Thursday evenings from 3 to 5,
They won't do it.
says
They'll vote it.
the 500,000
against it.
would be put on present sewer people. That's Rose Point, one of the areas. Am I wrong or right?
Mm-hmm. You're right.
I mean,
You're right.
we went from $1,200 a year in taxes. I'm paying $5,400 for a dirt road, cottage, one-bedroom house. I lost my job. My husband was out of work 4 years with a broken back. You people want to put us in a box in the street. We're not going to be able to pay.
motion made to adjourn.
I know, well, see.
Motion made.
Remember, I
No.
vote for you, buddy.
Right, you can still talk to him, but we're gonna adjourn the meeting.
You know?
Okay, we're gonna adjourn the meeting right now, and you can still, he's talking to the town administrator, that's what he needs to talk. 3 to 5 on Thursday. Motion made to adjourn. All in favor? Motion made.
We can have a conversation now.